Welcome back to the All Gains podcast. I am your host, Andrew.
And I'm Mike in the war room.
We are here with Nick M. and Nick V. And we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting stuff today. So we're basically talking about the state of the world, how it is today, what's going on. You know, the point of this is not to get heated, not to get pissed off at each other and start a fist fight in the middle of the room. Absolutely not. We're just trying to have some civil conversation of what's going on and be productive with it. And maybe someone out there could learn a few things from what we're talking about, what the current state of the world is like, and maybe some solutions that they can do, or they can make their own opinion about what we're talking about in the process. So, what's going on, Mike?
Oh man, this is gonna be a podcast that's hopefully can go down in history as either like the greatest thing ever or the worst thing to ever appear on the internet.
It's gonna be The Dark Knight or it's gonna be Batman and Robin. So it's gotta be one of the two. Yeah. We'll just hope for the best.
Yeah. So pretty much the overall topic today is just the politics of the world and especially of the United States, because that's where we are living in this current moment.
We're a little screwed right now. The 2020 election is certainly taking a toll on what's going on right now.
Just 2020 as a year has just been terrible.
Yeah, we have Nick and another Nick to basically talk with us about what's going on with that. So basically, I kind of want to start out with the coronavirus and what's going on with that, because you could say it now on YouTube, because apparently before YouTube did not want you to even say corona at all.
Oh yeah, no, they were definitely like in the beginning making sure they took down some stuff or prevented reaching from certain viewers.
I mean, you know what? When all this started, I thought that it was gonna go away in like 30 days. So you know what? The government's we're not gonna be on lockdown that much. The bars are gonna open up soon. I'm gonna be back in the gym lifting weights, and then 3 months later, or like 4 months later, here we are. Like the gyms are still locked down at this moment at the time of this recording. The bars right now are only allowed like outside only, no indoors. I think Governor Murphy we're in New Jersey, so Governor Murphy just extended the
emergency until like August 1st.
Yeah, by another month. And a lot of places still are closed, and a lot of people are still collecting unemployment, which my personal opinion, let me just say, I think a lot of these people that are getting unemployment don't want this to end, because they're making money, $600 a month or more, doing nothing. I'd be happy too if I was not an essential worker myself, but you know, some people got to go to work, and I never even got my stimulus check. So
yeah, I didn't either. Listen, at this point, I could care less about the stimulus check thing.
I'm just gonna keep working. I'm just gonna slave myself, whatever. I guess if Trump does, if the government, whatever, doesn't care about me, whatever. I'm not gonna play victim here. I'm just gonna keep working and going at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I honestly thought this was all gonna be over by now.
I told you it wasn't. I knew.
Well, here's what I think is that every side, no matter what you are, everyone has their own idea of who should be the next president, right? Because this is the worst year for something like this to happen during the 2020 election, right? So everybody's trying to put their own view of what's going on, and if let's say you're voting for Trump, they're gonna try to make Biden as the bad guy out of all this, or whoever,
or Trump is the bad guy,
or like people who are trying to get on Biden, the Democratic Party, they're trying to go against Trump right now. Like, oh, this is Trump's fault. He didn't take action quick enough. Like it's all like scrambled right now, and this is, as I said, this is the worst time for this stuff to happen, because everybody right now is losing their mind, and they're trying to put the blame on different people. So half the people blaming Trump. People are blaming. I don't think I haven't heard anyone blame Biden really for anything, because
I haven't heard too much from him. Yeah,
because Trump is the current president. So everybody who hates Trump, which is a lot of people, obviously, they're trying to blame him. Like, oh, he didn't take action quick enough. Maybe he might have. I'm not really the expert on that. But what do you think about all this, Nick? M? We'll go with
well, to be completely honest, like I try not to watch the news. You know, a lot of times they might say, "Oh, we've seen a spike in cases," and recently, I mean, bars and restaurants and things just started to reopen slowly. You know, some states were doing indoor dining, and then all of a sudden, now, we have thousands of new cases because of indoor dining. You know, I mean, you never really hear the news talk about the protesting that much in terms of the, coronavirus cases going up. I mean, a lot of indoor entertainment things are open for limited capacity. So, when other things are still closed, you got to wonder why, the things like funerals, you can't really do the funerals, and weddings too. Keep in mind, weddings, a lot of people either have to cancel that or limited capacity. So you just I don't know. I try not to watch the news and pay attention to the numbers too much. I mean, I knew by now we'd be in like that stage 2 or stage 3. I was telling people from the beginning, we're probably going to open up in stages, and I figured this would be that kind of time period. The bad thing is that it's an election year, so it's probably going to get a little political more than it needs to be. But yeah,
it always got to get political.
Well, it's because like everyone has this sort of agenda, and everyone is trying to push their idealism on everybody else. So like, if I'm right, then it must be the only way. And because a lot of people are, once again, they're not trying to find out their answer. They're trying to put in their view. And what is right is what I say, and what I say is what is right. And it's kind of that kind of ideologically that we're kind of in trouble right now, because you have all these politicians that are saying all these different things, and there's not really an agreed. Especially right now, everybody's trying to disagree on everything because nobody wants their candidate to lose. What do you think about this, Nick?
Absolutely, you're completely right. All the politicians now want to take responsibility for the good and not the bad.
I've not seen anyone take responsibility for the bad.
Exactly. I think something we can all agree on is that nobody predicted the scale of just how bad this coronavirus thing would get out. I mean, worldwide pandemic numbers in the millions of people dead. And you can just tell just by the sloppiness of how, I guess, not only ours, but other countries' governments handled the approach for all this, because it's definitely eye-opening for the younger generation, and it definitely, showed us what we can do better in the near future. Even right now, the numbers say that we, as the United States, are now the single highest, coronavirus case in the world right now, and excluding everybody else, to a point where other countries are banning travel from us to there, just because of those numbers. And I think that falls on the responsibility of the government and the politicians, that the ones who did a sloppy job in doing this in the first place.
We handled this poorly, man. We did not do a good job at
yeah,
taking care of
I do
this.
agree. I also feel like it's also like us as citizens' fault too, because I feel like us as citizens to a country that's about freedom, we're too ego invested in our freedom.
Sure.
And I from working in essential businesses, I see so many people trying to come in like with masks when we're mandated to, like everyone is, not just the workers but the people who go in, and they don't want to wear the mask. And so I say that they wave their dick around of freedom, because they think that they're just entitled to not have to wear a mask because they're free.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's just dumb. Like, you need to this is not about your freedom, it's about the safety of you and everyone around you. And people just need to shut the hell up, like, about not wanting to wear a mask. Like, I don't want to wear a mask. Like, I'm gonna say that straight up. I don't want to wear a mask, but I know that I have to keep myself, my family, and everyone that I care about safe.
I have to admit, I'm extremely guilty when it comes to like the mask thing, because like when I'm in my job, I take it off. I mean, I work in an outdoor environment, so if I was working inside, maybe I feel different. But the fact that I work outside and I'm mandated to wear it, I'm just like, you know what? I don't care. It gets to a certain point where you're just like, you question things. Why am I really doing this? But that's probably just me. And could I be wrong for it? Yes, I admit it. I might be maybe inconsiderate. Sure, it's just me. At least I own it. At least I know what I'm doing. I'm not gonna deny that I might be breaking some kind of law, but it's just something feels wrong about being forced to wear some kind of mask for a few months, and especially when you're working out in the heat. And you'll be forced to wear something that affects your breathing. You might be just doing more damage to your body than just wearing a mask. It's plain and simple. I have more of a chance of dying from passing out in the heat than I am from in my opinion, getting corona.
How dare you?
That's just me. How dare I? I know. I'm that guy.
I kind of agree with you, on that, because listen, there's people I work with that have actual breathing issues. A couple old guys that have breathing issues, and when you're wearing the mask for 8 hours a day, especially on a really hot day when the store might get really hot, that definitely affects you more so, I think, than the corona might. I mean, you might pass out, or you might suffocate, if you're one of those types of people, rather than die from corona.
I'm sorry, but personally, I just think I have more of a chance than by getting hit by a car
Yeah.
when I'm walking in the middle of the street than I am getting corona and infecting others. It's just I haven't seen any action around me. It's just me, I mean, I know it's obviously real and things. It's dangerous, sure. It's still a pandemic, whatever. But I don't think it's. I just don't see any evidence around me that supports that I should constantly be wearing it at the place that I work at. I mean, if I go into ShopRite or I go somewhere to shop and get my groceries, sure, I'll wear it for 10 minutes. I don't care. It's when I work is when I mostly have the problem with it. Sure, I'll support these local businesses by putting it on for just a little while. Not long, 10 minutes. Go in, get out, easy. You don't have to go into these stores and I don't care about when you don't. That's not necessary. I'm there to get my grass-fed, grass-finished beef and get the hell out.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that. You don't have to go into a store, wear a mask, and make a big fucking deal out of it. There's no fucking point.
Yeah. If
So-
people only had common sense like that.
Yeah.
But to go in a store and say, I don't need to wear this mask, you're not proving anything except that you have a small dick. It's all the only thing you're proving. You don't need to fucking compensate. I'm sorry. You don't. It's not. I mean, come on. Get in, get out. Do you want your fucking carbs or not? Get out. Like that's.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's just me.
Now, Andrew's opinion just proves that us as American citizens it's really a double-edged sword, because us, being American citizens, we feel that, we have the freedoms to do, I wouldn't say pretty much whatever we want, but up to a certain point in the law. And half of the time, Andrew's right, people don't want to be wearing their masks because they don't feel obligated to do so. And again, that's just a double-edged sword. You have the freedom to not wear it, but do you really actually have the freedom to not wear it?
I don't know. Probably not. But you know what? Every country has a rebel. I guess I'll be that guy.
And then we have Donald Trump, going to the rallies, not wearing a mask, and his vice president not wearing the
I
mask.
kind of get that, because if you're trying to steer a country in a certain way, you probably want to set the example. I mean, our governor did the same thing. He went into. I've seen him at. I forgot what he was at. Right, without a mask.
When he does his live streams, he comes in all the time. Because I watch those live streams just to see like what he's opening up and like those and like the news on that. That's all I really look for. But I watch the beginning, so every time he walks in, he always has his mask on and then he takes it off. And then then after that, like whatever. I don't really know too much. If I know there was that time, I guess he was at some indoor dining thing and didn't have his mask on or something, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it was the day that he canceled the indoor. He was like, you know what? We're not going to open the indoor thing yet. And then he was seen at a bar or something. He had the mask on, but he was inside with just taking pictures of people, and that triggered people on Twitter. So, I mean, but Twitter triggered.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny? Because like everyone gives him so much shit. But he kind of deserves some of it. But I mean, we are one of the only 2 states that have the least amount of cases going on
and that's
in the country.
That's because everything is still locked down. Like
because we're taking it slow, and I feel like we're doing a lot better than a lot of the other states.
We're one of the only states in the country that still have our gyms closed.
Which kind of sucks. I'm really not happy about that.
But I think you could open gyms to a certain percentage at least.
Some gyms I've already seen do like the whole plexiglass thing. It's like there's like different stations set up. I mean, obviously you can't fit as many people in the gym, but at least you're doing the right thing.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like the whole thing with gyms is because how the gyms are, it's a business. So if you open your gym, that means everyone who has a membership with you is still going to get taken money. And if you can't get to the gym because there's always capacity, then you're just losing your money.
Losing out, yeah.
And so and
that definitely becomes a problem.
Yeah, and I feel like and I've said it before that I think that's probably one of the other issues is why he hasn't done it. Other than the fact that he's probably still pissy about that one guy who opened the gym anyway and said fuck you.
Yeah.
But him getting emotional, is that him?
Yeah,
trying
pretty
to
much. Yeah, I feel like that's also another reason why he did it. But I feel like mine is more the logical reason, and I want to believe that that's the reason, but I feel like it's not because
Well, here's an unfortunate reality is that in our kind of age right now, our society pretty much prioritizes emotion over reason. So that's why there's so much debate right now.
I could talk a whole lot about why our politicians choose emotion over actual law and reason.
And why do you think that is?
It's just the trends that are going on. Everything that's going on is viewed by the masses, and the politicians don't want to look bad in front of the masses because it's the masses who they're getting votes for. It's crazy. Like a lot of these politicians are doing things that they never would have done 20 years ago that they've been in office. All of a sudden now it's a trend, and then I don't want to look bad in front of my peers, so I'm going to do this instead of that.
Well, yeah, they need to get a new Senate a new people need to be reelected.
I've seen a lot of people. They've been going back to the trend of giving Congress and all them term limits.
It should have happened a long time ago.
They're never. The funny thing is, they're never going to vote on that because they're obviously the ones that would be voting on it.
They're gonna nah.
It stinks.
So.
It stinks that we'll never see. Because definitely should have term limits for sure.
Something.
There was a video. There was a video going viral recently of someone talking about it in the House, I think.
Yeah.
And that that it needs to happen. But I doubt it ever will happen, at least in our lifetime.
Yeah, the only way to get these people out of office is to go out and vote for your local politicians and state politicians. I know a lot of people are always concerned about the presidential election, but the bigger thing, if you want to see change, you have to get out there and vote for your state and
the
local
president
politicians.
does not do the whole job.
Yeah, president.
You do realize that he could veto shit.
Yeah, he could veto shit, but he's not making laws. He doesn't make all the laws. It's mostly just the House and Congress.
Yeah, most of the things that happen to you individually is mostly done on the local politics team, like mayors with taxes and all that. And
mayor's the governor,
stuff
and
like
then
that.
the senator.
The president is just the face of the country.
Yeah, remember when Trump was gonna get impeached, and then I think the House was like, "Yeah, get this motherfucker out of here." But then the Senate went to the Senate, and they were like, "Nah, dog, I don't think."
Yeah,
so everyone was like, "Yo, Trump's gonna get impeached. He's gonna get impeached." And everyone was like, "Oh yeah, fuck Trump."
I know. Yeah,
and
they
then
don't
the Senate
realize.
was like, that's gonna be a
the
no
Senate.
dog. The Senate was like, "No, I don't think so." And then everyone was like, "Oh, I shut the fuck up." Like everybody just stopped talking about it immediately because they were fucked.
No,
the Senate was not gonna approve it, and they knew that.
No president has ever been impeached from the Senate. Ever.
Really?
I thought there was one.
Was there? I thought Andrew Jackson was. Wait,
I thought
Andrew Jackson was not.
Oh, it wasn't.
I know that multiple people have been
Andrew
impeached.
Johnson, I think, who you talking.
Yeah, no, Andrew Johnson.
Oh, right.
Andrew Johnson.
But because if you give the people something to hype about, they're gonna hype all about it. Like, oh yeah, that's a great example. The impeachment. Oh yeah, fuck Trump. We're gonna get a new president. Joe Biden's gonna win easily. Or I think it was Bernie Sanders, right? By the way, Bernie, you suck. You fucking dropped out. Why'd you do that?
Yeah, he could have.
You could still write him in if you
yeah, but no, they're not gonna do that though. Realistically, come on. How many people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I can do that? They're not gonna do that. They're
Exactly,
like, okay,
I
it's Trump
know.
right.
Either gonna
That's
vote
it.
for one, the other, or not at all.
Yeah.
And that sucks. That shit sucks. And I hate the media so fucking much because it's either left or right. They never go in the middle, and they never talk about the third parties.
Well, yeah, it goes back to that ideology that everybody has. Everybody has that belief, that I'm right, so fuck the other side. We don't care what they think.
Yeah.
And it's gonna affect the country. It doesn't even affect them. They're getting paid. These people are gonna get paid no matter what. It affects us. It affects the ordinary, the regular people, the 9 to 5 people. Not that we're 9 to 5, but the average citizens. We're getting all the heat from all the decisions that they make anyway.
Yeah.
And the Democrats aren't even trying to
No, their main focus right now is we need to get rid of Trump. How are we gonna get rid of Trump?
Sleepy Joe. I mean, come on.
That's been for 4 years. But yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm not saying I love Trump or anything, but I'm just saying he is the president right now. And why don't you focus on what the people need, not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear right now. That's what they need to focus on.
That's their feelings.
Well, yeah, but that's what. Once again, we live in a society right now where it's feels before real. So everybody's trying to exactly the impeachment. Oh yeah, everybody getting emotional that Trump's gonna get impeached, and then he wasn't. So everybody was like, oh, okay, what are we gonna focus on now? Because there's always that one trend that everybody's trying to focus on, and then something else happens. Like, oh, because remember when the protests started happening when the Black Lives Matter protests started happening. People forgot about Corona for like a good week. Yeah. No one was talking about the news. Is not on Fox News, CNN. It's all about the protests because every time there's a new trend that happens, that's the main talk. We forget about everything else. So there are people with agendas in the moment to use for their own purpose. That's it. That's how it is.
And it was even like with the Epstein stuff too, because when he when he killed himself, which he did not, we were talking about that forever, and then the impeachment stuff happened, and it's always there's always something, and then there's always something to cover up whatever that was that we were talking about originally, and then we always try to they always try to make you forget on both sides, and they always try to keep on both sides it different to where one side is pretty much saying, screw the other side, they're wrong, they're the bad guys, we're the good guys, and that opposite side is doing the same thing to the other side, because now that we're not in any real wars, we have no bad guys. Back in the day when it was the Cold War, who was the bad guy? The Russians. Because we were in a Cold War with the Russians and the communists. Yeah. That was our bad guy. But now that we're not in a Cold War, ever since 1991, we don't have a bad guy. We only have us.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. We have to make a bad
ratings,
guy.
Yeah, ratings. Bad guys and fighting against a bad guy equals ratings. And so creating ratings, we have to fight each other.
Well, remember, Mike, if there's no boogeyman, no one gets paid. Remember that.
Yeah.
That's something important to remember.
Oh,
Everyone
that's
needs.
actually,
If
yeah.
there's no bad guy, that means you have to write one in. You have to create one. Which is why it's so easy to say Trump did this. Trump. I'm not saying Trump did not do something, but the go-to is Trump did this. It's all Trump's fault. He did it anyway. Like you have to blame somebody, or else it's not fun. You're not gonna get people tuning into all these news things or the clickbait titles of all these articles online,
exactly.
unless it's something interesting that they know you're gonna click on. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
That's everything on the internet, clickbait. There's a lot of articles. I can't name them right now because off the top of my head, but there's a lot of articles that they seem interesting. Like Trump is going to get impeached because of these 12 reasons. It's all clickbait. You click on it because they get the money from you just clicking on it. It's the revenue that they care about. You think they care about your opinion? No, they want you to read their stuff. Like if you see their bogus stuff in the Washington Times, right, New York Times, all this stuff, you see a lot of bogus articles and with these dumbass headlines. And then when you click on them and go into it, you'll realize that the headline itself doesn't even match with the article that it's talking about. It's just clickbait to get you to click on it because then they get paid.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So that's what we're living in. Like we're living in a fast food era, as I like to call it. We need everything now. We need to know everything every minute that's happening right now.
Yeah, the
That's the American way.
instant gratification. And,
Exactly,
And
instant
like because we have really nothing like going on in the terms of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like against other countries or stuff like that. We have
fight
to
ourselves.
we have to fight ourselves, and that's so. I feel like that's so bad. I feel like that's something we shouldn't be doing, and no one's gonna fucking do anything about it unless if we actually do something about it. And here we are sitting at a table talking about it.
I'm gonna quote somebody, a buddy of mine that told me this, and you bring up a good point with this external like thing that's not happening at all. A buddy of mine told me that our country, us as citizens of this country, we're rebellious people. We always want conflict all the time. If it's not with other people and an outside force, it's with ourselves. I kind of learned from that, and I kind of get his point because back in 2001, I'll use that example. During the 9/11 attacks, everybody had this great thing of patriotism after the 9/11 attacks, and we became united as a country against this big enemy.
Because then there's a bad guy, right?
Because there's an external bad guy. That's right. But now here in 2020, there is no external bad guys. We are the bad guys.
Well, isn't it true, right? After 9/11, I believe there was like a huge enlistment in the military, right?
Absolutely.
So that's probably benefits them in some way, I'm sure. I don't really know the inner workings of that, but I'm sure like there is a benefit somehow to get a lot of people to enlist in that kind of situation if there's like a big threat like that. But our biggest threat right now, I'll say right now, is ourselves. No doubt. We're fighting each other more than we're fighting anything against the world right now. You could say whatever you want about who's the enemy right now, but really we're fighting ourselves. The Democrats versus the Republicans are the biggest fight that I see going on right now, and everybody's trying to get their little piece in the action. Everybody wants to say their say, and if someone disagrees with them, then their emotional side gets kicked in. So then they have to go, "What do you mean?" And then they get very defensive on it, of course. Yeah. And then people have, especially on Twitter. Twitter is the worst.
Twitter is a lawless land. We've said it so many times.
Twitter is a lawless land because everybody, you say one tweet and then name one Trump tweet that did not get like all this hate. Like you have the same normies too commenting like, "Oh well, this is all your fucking fault. If you didn't handle this better, I mean, sure maybe, but they have to go against something." And Twitter is like one of the worst places to do it.
Social media has become a weapon.
It is a weapon. It's a political ideology for a weapon, but it works because. People tweeting stuff, you can automatically get people on your side. People will take sides on a status no matter what, easy. That's why like the Biden tweets versus the Trump tweets easily get the most viewings and they get the most reactions because that's what all these people on the far right, the far left, the middle, whatever, they want a reaction. Same thing with everything on the news you see, it's all for reaction. They want you to spark rage. Rage is what gets them paid. Rage is what gets them going. That's how you get people talking. Exactly. If you can get people's interest, you can create two sides of an equation. If you can create an equation, you can create a bad guy, which creates a whole another thing. And these news outlets that there is some fake news going on out there, and there's a lot of bullshit that comes with that. Not everything you hear, unfortunately, on the news is the most accurate. especially depending on the reporter that reports it.
Yeah,
They have their own agenda.
especially where the source is coming from. Because let's say if it's something far right, they might skew it to benefit them, and it's the
Easily,
same thing on the left. They might skew it to benefit them on the left. It's all about the side that you play, and to get your side the better side.
Yeah.
And I've been saying it for like 5 years, maybe even more, that we should never have made political parties a thing ever. In the history of our country, we should never have done that. George Washington said we should never have a political party, like political parties in our country. And here we are having political parties in our country. We're more divided as a country as we ever have been. And this is just shit. This is just a shit show.
Yeah, well, we're at a point where you
fucking shit
endorse
show.
someone, you're a bad guy. Like, remember when I think Joe Rogan, I guess someone was saying he was endorsing Bernie Sanders, and people were like, oh, well, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He ain't shit.
Yeah, and Joe
it
Rogan's
was like, he was like,
and
what
Joe
the fuck
Rogan's
you
like,
talking
what?
about? He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, no. I mean, why would he give a fuck? To be honest, like, who cares what other people say? Who cares if you support a certain candidate?
So no, this is going on, and then one day out of the blue, this is, as I said, the perfect time, because that's when that cop was Derek something, whatever the cop that was kneeling on the guy.
On George Floyd.
Yeah,
Derek
Chauvin.
and then all this stuff started, and that was that you can grab the attention away from all this stuff happening. Now we have a way to direct all this attention towards this situation right here, and now it's another way to create sides, which they did greatly, because now there's all the people that are Black Lives Matter. No, all lives matter. No, wait, Blue Lives Matter. Like, there's all these different sides.
It's so funny because in 2016 this happened, but again this happened already in Ferguson. This happened already. We had this happen, but that time it was only for like a few weeks or a month, and then it stopped. Yeah. But the thing is with now, is that
cities are burning.
Yeah, cities are burning. But the thing is that now, like, what the fuck was I just saying? You just messed me up, Nick. But the thing is now is that, like, it's a continuous thing. Everyone is on it, and everyone in with the initial thing with Derek Chauvin kneeling on him, everyone agrees that is bad, and then after that, everyone's on a completely different side. And no one is on the same side on anything after that.
Which makes no sense, because obviously it was wrong.
Yes.
No doubt,
Absolutely.
yes. No one is saying, I've never heard anyone say, wow, he did the right thing.
Exactly.
No one is saying
Everybody
that.
was against it from the beginning, and
Yeah.
It's obvious. You take human life, you're scum. That's it. You're a bad cop.
Absolutely.
But what happens, guy? I know Nick is. I know you're very you get into this subject because you are. What would you say?
I would say I'm pro-police in this matter. I do support the police and unions. I am very, very adamant of this subject because Black Lives Matter is kind of obscuring the scenarios of what's going on. I'll kind of use an example. I actually had to Google this because I forgot the dude's name. The killing of Garrett Rolfe. I don't know if Rayshard Brooks is the guy's name. Garrett Rolfe is the officer. Rayshard Brooks was the gentleman that fell asleep at the Wendy's drive-thru in Atlanta, Georgia, and police officers were sent there to respond to the man. He was resisting arrest, and he ended up grabbing an officer's taser and was running away from the officer. And doing so, he also pointed the weapon at the police officer, and then the police officer shot him dead. Black Lives Matter freaked out. There was a big protest in Atlanta, Georgia, and that Wendy's ended up burning down to the ground because of it. I don't know if any of you heard that story.
Yeah, I did.
I heard most of it.
That
you only hear what they want you to hear.
The district attorney sorry, I had something in my throat. The district attorney of Atlanta, Georgia. Sorry, I need some water.
Yeah, didn't they pretty much declare like a taser like a deadly weapon?
The district attorney, who was the one that put murder of the first degree on that officer, was the one who set a rule of the town of Atlanta, Georgia, that tasers are considered a deadly weapon. And that police officer is now serving first-degree murder for defending himself against said deadly weapon. And in the state of Georgia, first-degree murder can be is a capital punishment, and you can actually be put to death for it.
Yeah, because Georgia has the death penalty still. It's
That
like one of the only states still, right?
that officer, based on his training and based on everybody's feelings of the matter, has a good chance of being put to death due to that, even though he was trained that way to shoot in defense of said deadly weapon by even that same district attorney who is the one who is putting him in jail.
Well, would you say that? I mean, would you guys say, like, if we need a bad guy, do you think do you think cops are kind of being made the bad guy at this moment?
No,
I feel like in the light of the Black Lives Matter, a lot of people that are pro Black Lives Matter, how the media is taking it is that they're making it so like Black Lives Matter is saying that cops are bad. Cops are the bad guys.
Because I mean, the reality is obviously not all cops are bad. I mean,
Absolutely
right?
not.
I mean,
Yeah, and there's that,
this
and
should
there's
be
that
common sense.
Yeah, and there's that thing. There's a thing going on that hashtag going on ACAB, which they frame it as all cops are bad. But the thing is that I don't feel like that's the way. I've seen a picture of it on the internet somewhere. I don't remember if it was Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. But it said it shouldn't be all cops are bad, but all cops. Nick, I want you to respond to this. However, once I finish. It said all cops are bastardized, meaning that the system of the police department and law enforcement itself could be corrupt in a certain way, but it is up to the specific person themselves to either take it upon themselves to not be a bad guy in the situation, or to just take advantage of the corruption and do whatever they want and get away with whatever they want.
I do agree with that statement, and I want to add on to that most cops do want to be the good guys. I can tell you that right now. Becoming a police officer is a very difficult job, and
there is risk.
when you work 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years, however long it is, working with just the scum of society. If you work with a bad customer at your job for 10 days, you get pissed off. Now imagine doing that 30, 40, 50 times a day for 10, 20, 30 years. You're gonna, at the end of the day, you're gonna realize you get more angry than you are at work, and then you realize you're just gonna become a fucking robot.
If you're getting like very angry about the job like that, is it wise to keep going in the same direction? Like it maybe like I don't know if I want to say change profession, but if you're constantly like in that emotional state, if you're in that stressful state for as many years as that may be till you're retired, don't you think that kind of takes a toll, and maybe there should be extra steps to be precaution of that?
Sure, I absolutely agree with that. Sure.
Like what?
From a police officer standpoint, yeah, you could change profession, absolutely. But
because it is obvious that it may be a cop or any other job. When you're at a certain environment and it affects you in some kind of way, years go by, you do the same thing and you witness the same thing over and over. And over time, it takes an emotional toll on you, whether you want to believe it or not. Your stress level over the years are going to go by down. So let's say you're a cop and you've experienced a lot of shit. You've been shot at, you've been stabbed at, people have given you shit. The society hates you. People want you dead. You get death threats just by doing your job. You're patrolling around and people are throwing shit at you and saying you ain't shit. And you picked the wrong profession, and that happens for years and years and years. Because let's face it, there's always going to be those people who are going to hate on cops. That's
Absolutely.
it. There's always going to be people that have that emotional grudge against cops. Always. You can't stop that. There's always going to be that one person you have one bad experience with a cop. You're going to hate on them forever. You're going to talk shit as much as you want because first of all, if you're on the internet, you can talk as much shit as you want. You have one bad experience with a cop, you got pulled over one time, and you don't think they treated you in a good way. You're going to talk shit about cops your whole entire life. And one day, these cops are, can certain humans take certain punishment to an extent?
But there's also a good side to the story, too. Because you, being a police officer as a first responder, you're the first one on scene all the time. And you have a chance if somebody is dying on the floor, you have a chance of saving that person. And you as an individual could be, the meaning of life and death for certain individuals. You could be the one saving a school from a school shooter, for example. Like if somebody decided to just walk in and shoot up a school, you could be the one running in there and saving all the children and all that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, people want to always, I think in this society, we're sort of clinging towards negative emotions, right? Because we want that indignation, we want that drama, we want to hate on something, right? But a lot of people are, I guess, they fail to acknowledge the good that comes of people that we need cops. Like people who say, I will say, whoever says we need to defund the police, it's not a good idea. All right, that's not optimal. That's not optimal.
Yeah.
What you need to do, I would argue, is you need to invest more money in training. Because some of these cops do not have the... Okay, let's face it. I don't know what the statistics are. I remember hearing about them, but cops are not trained with gunfire and stuff like that as much as they should. They could be. It could be. Let's invest more into departments so we can get more training for the cops. That way, if they get more training, they're able to handle these situations better with the public. Because, let's face it, in the public, anything could happen. If you're a street cop and you're patrolling, you just don't know. Especially right now. You don't know who's out to get you. You really don't. So you're constantly risking your life. It really is true. If someone has a grudge against cops and one day they snap, they're going to come for you. They're going to come for the person with the most power on the street, and that's going to be the cop patrolling the area.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely kind of talk from personal experience. So one time, when the applications for state police come around, I did that, and then, you get invited to the physical qualifications test.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
When I was standing there with all those guys, you could feel a sense of like, hey, we're here. We want to, we actually want to do good. Like most of these guys who want to become cops actually want to do good. And then, you always have the media, especially in the, the past, few years or so, it's gotten a lot worse. They're painting these guys as most of them being bad.
They're the bad guys.
And the problem is, like, even when it came to the Brooks gentleman who, got shot in at the Wendy's drive-thru, the first day or two that I saw the news articles come out, and I read all the newspapers and stuff. I have them sent to my house, and I read some magazines and stuff. And the articles were titled, innocent unarmed black man killed by police officer. With no context at all, and until you watch the all the videos from that whole thing, you realize the whole thing was peaceful up until the point Nick brought up with the grabbing the taser, and everything was fine until that. I mean, keep in mind this guy was was obviously intoxicated.
Fighting the
you don't
police.
just fall asleep in Wendy's drive-thru. And he was arrested for DWI before, DUI before, so he could have gotten arrested again, and obviously he didn't want that to happen. There was a lot more with the gentleman, but you can't listen to the news and then just the whole picture is already painted for you. I mean, people believe the first thing they see and hear,
Of course.
and it's obviously not right to do that.
People nowadays in this generation believe that fighting the police, you can get out of a situation. Police are not trained like that.
Yeah. Well, it's, like I see a lot of people, like on Facebook, for example, they'll see a clickbaity title, right? Like Trump declines LGBTQ rights or something, and you'll have people like, what the fuck Trump, like stuff like that, and then you look at the article and it goes much more deeper, and it turns out that kind of clickbait article which just get the attention, but a lot of people do not read the full article. People do not look in depth in a lot of things, just like that, because they, just like you were saying, they don't want to look into the article. They look at the clickbait title and they assume they know the picture. Mm-hmm. We assume we know things that we don't. That's dangerous.
Yeah, and
that's dangerous.
It's even worse sometimes too is if people actually go beyond just reading the title and they actually read the article or the first paragraph or first few sentences. A lot of times you see things that are highlighted. Just because a sentence is highlighted, it's like, oh wow, that must be true, or that must be really important to pay attention to. And obviously, even in fact checking websites, you got to be careful of them too.
There's a lot of fake websites right now because people who have an agenda, they'll make a certain website to fit their ideology. So a certain website that could be fake will put out a fake news article, and you're gonna think that's real. So, like, I remember, for another example, when Trump was getting impeached, there was articles that say, oh, Trump just got impeached, he's leaving tomorrow. And people believed it, and then they would share it, and they'd be like, oh, and I saw this firsthand, It was an article, I remember, it said, like, Trump asked to leave White House next day, something stupid.
It's
like
always something.
And people were like, oh, and these people believed it. They were like, oh, thank God, fuck Trump, we don't need him. And then the next day it was like, oh, there's no impeachment, it's fine. And they're like, wait a second. And then they delete their post because they knew they'd just been fooled. So their entire ego gets shattered because of that, because they've been lied to, because all these websites are being fake. And
people
it's like
eat
fake
that
news.
shit up like candy.
Easy. Because it's so easy, because we want that drama. We love the indignation that comes from. We love taking a side because we feel like we're being part of something. And in a society that you feel like you might, like, if you live a boring life and you're offered to take a side against something else, like an enemy, whatever it may be, whatever fits your ideology, if you're given an enemy and you get to choose a side, you're like, oh, well, I'll choose the red team. And they're going to go against the blue. Or I'm going to choose the blue team, go against the rest. It's the same thing, because we need, it like gets you out of your comfort zone, right? it allows you to choose a side to become part of something, which everyone wants to be part of something.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean,
then
I
you
like
get
to
all
be part of stuff.
You know, it's funny. I was on Twitter today. I tagged you in it, Mike, and
Oh yeah.
it was this. I guess some people were protesting in the street.
Oh no.
They were on a highway. They were posting in the.
Was it the guy in the Jaguar?
Yeah,
just
and
coming-
this guy
Oh
in
my
some
God.
fast ass car fucking runs over these two guys.
I saw that video.
man.
You heard that you
I
could
saw
you could
that
hear
video.
the
It was. What town was it? Do you remember?
Seattle.
Seattle.
It was
Seattle.
in. It was
protest
in.
Seattle. The
It was
greatest
in
place in the world
Seattle,
right now.
Washington. It was on a big major what would you call that?
It's like a highway, right?
It was a big highway.
It was a
main-
huge
It was a
highway.
main-
It was like
it's a
a
big highway.
There's this
8-lane
fast,
highway.
This fast cars coming in because the people are protesting in the middle of the highway,
pro-
and this car runs through two guys. One's critically injured right now, and the other one he might make it. They don't know, but one guy's like about to die.
Protesters put their cars right in the middle of the street.
How are you gonna
And-
protest? I'm sorry, I cannot. I disagree with people protesting in the middle of the street when people are trying to get by.
Of a
That's
highway.
not a good way. You're not
Especially emergency vehicles that got to get through. I've seen too many cases over the past how many years of all this stuff going
Well,
on where they
yeah.
can't get through.
And a lot of people are like banging on these guys. If you've seen the videos of the people who are just trying to drive by, they're trying to go to work. Average citizens trying to go to work in a 9-to-5 job, and the protesters are in the middle of the street banging on these people's cars. Like they never did anything
They're
here.
animals.
Now you're just trying to start some shit. Because we need that, once again, people want that emotional, they want that drama, they want to fight for something, but they don't even know who they're fighting. They just want to fight because people are bored. It's
Yeah.
simple as that. They're bored. So these people coming through just going to work and their cars are getting banged on. One guy's going to lose their shit. And that's why you see these videos with people just like, fuck, I don't even give a fuck. And they run over these, they run them over.
Yeah. So
Or,
the protesters parked their cars right in the middle of the freeway, like blocking all lanes of traffic. All of a sudden, you see this white Jaguar come flying down, try to go through the divider because he's trying to go around all the fucking parked cars. And there was just the crowd of people started to move besides these two people, and they just friggin' wail.
yo, like you could hear the
You
people
can
getting
hear.
hit. You could feel them getting
Yeah.
destroyed.
You could just
You
see
can
them
hear their
fly.
feelings getting
I
crushed.
But for anybody wondering, I believe the guy in the car, I guess he's in custody now. They got him. Because in the end of the video, the guy's slowing down. He's like, fuck.
He did stop.
Yeah, he did. He did. He
stop.
did get out.
Right
I mean,
after that.
but it's like, why are you protesting in the middle of the street? What are you trying to prove? And then we got the rioters, which, how do you feel about that, guys?
I mean, listen, the whole rioting thing. I don't think people should be rioting at all. That's that's just,
Is it really solving
listen,
anything?
Listen, the whole rioting thing. Because especially it's in it was in every major city, and a lot of things were burned and destroyed.
Target.
And then Black Lives Matter wants you to go out and support local black businesses, which is great. I would absolutely go and do that, but it's like, how am I going to do that? You just destroyed your entire neighborhood.
And they
How am I
want
gonna
white
go-
people
Well,
to
wasn't
get on
that
their
there was that
knees.
one black owner that was like he was seen crying because
Oh,
people
yeah, I know.
looted his store and they fucking wrecked it.
Yeah.
And then I guess somebody made a fundraiser and I think
They
actually
raised
paid
money
back.
for him, so thank
Yeah.
God. But it's like you think all those businesses you did destroy, all the money that was being raised to get the people bailed out of jail. It's like I mean, come on, you think you would have donated more of that towards these businesses? Because now if I don't know if anybody remembers, because riots are not a new thing. Newark had a riot back during the '60s, I believe, and they never really recovered from that. I mean, it's just you're going to damage your neighborhood more for the long term than you are.
Yeah.
Anything
that's what I'm
else.
saying.
So-
Is
Yeah,
it really-
and
what's
I feel
solving?
like a lot of those riots, they're just, I feel like those people that do it are just in like an offshoot of the protesters, where it's like the Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King Jr. Like the protesters are King Jr. and the rioters are Malcolm X, and it's just two sides of the same coin, and it's just not working together. You got these rioters need to stop. They need to chill out. They need to peacefully protest, because like the purpose is serious and it's a real thing, and it should be protested upon. But you cannot just destroy things
Destructive progress doesn't work.
because you're angry, and that's the whole thing. And that's the whole thing about emotion. You're using your emotions in a bad way. And these protesters and the peaceful protesters and stuff, they're using their emotions in a positive way, in a better way, and that's the way that they should be doing it. I promote them doing the protests. But I do not condone them doing the defund the police stuff. I feel like that's not really that's not important for the reason. It's Black Lives Matter. That's
exactly.
the main focus. And that's only the thing you should be focusing on.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing is too is they're causing millions and millions of dollars of damage, and it's like you want to defund the police by millions and millions of dollars. I mean,
not
is
gonna work
that
out
is-
very well.
I mean, first of all, the money is probably never even going to get to those neighborhoods anyway, and then you just cause millions of dollars of damage that's probably never going to be repaired for years, maybe even decades. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, depending on the wealth of the city.
Yeah, exactly.
Black Lives Matter are a bunch of hypocrites, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like the media makes them hypocrites.
I will be happy to explain to you, because what is Black Lives Matter protesting against?
Well, it basically is against police brutality. Am I correct, or is it like
I think it's just systemic racism upon black people.
Rest in peace, Aunt Jemima.
Now,
oh my God,
let's
not go there.
Now let me ask you, how would you feel? What do you feel is necessary to end systematic racism?
Well, the thing is that you can't end it. That's the thing, though. You can't end systemic racism because we as a country we were part of the slave trade, where we took people from Africa and we brought them here and we had them as slaves, especially in the South. And then we spent generations upon generations of doing that. And then when we finally freed them, which was probably the best thing to do, those people who had them were butthurt about it, and so for generations you make people like hate upon and that's a bad thing, is to hate things, is to hate people. And so these people are just born with hate for another human, for another type of human. And so that just keeps going, and regardless of how people feel, especially how we feel, like we feel that we can actually love each other and all that stuff, but you can't stop the people that made you from influencing you to hate another person. They will do it, especially when you're young. When we're born and we're like 3-4 years old, we don't know a difference between me and you. You and I are the same. And if let's say if you were black, Andrew, and I was white, I wouldn't know any fucking difference. But then once you put in that thing, it was like, oh, those black people, blah blah blah. Then you're just influencing hate upon me. Like, let's say my parents were doing that, right? And they would influence hate upon me, and then now I feel different about you. And I feel like it's just been doing that for hundreds of years, and it's going to continue. We might have a slow decline on that, especially with us, our generation. I feel like our generation will probably do the best job at declining that, but it won't go away.
In this country where we have cultures and religious and backgrounds so diverse as we do now, where everyone comes from a different world, I don't believe racism will ever end, because if it's not one minority group, it will be the next.
Yeah, because after it'll be blacks, it'll be Spanish, and then it'll be Native Americans. Native Americans,
10 years ago we didn't like Mexicans because we thought they were illegal jumping over.
Yeah, taking our jobs and stuff.
It's always going to be something. There's always going to be something to go after. I mean, if you look back into what was it, the 2016 election, there was the same thing. It was like the Black Lives Matter movement happened
in Ferguson. I was talking about that earlier. And then with the 2016 election with Trump, he was saying that I'm going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it, blah blah blah.
How did that work out?
Which that didn't really work out too well. But
yeah, I mean, listen, the thing about Trump, I don't know if you guys ever read the Art of the Deal. Back during when he first started becoming a developer, literally everything he says, things like that, he's been doing that since day one. And he does it literally for publicity. Now, he does say stupid things, but he knows how to play the game. He knows how to play people.
But is he consistent
with the things that he says?
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely, because his thing back then was, if he wanted to get, some sort of advertisement in a newspaper, or he wanted to get like a news report done on him, obviously you'd have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars, and now it would be millions probably. And he would say something stupid, and they would give him a whole page, in the paper, or they would make him front page, and he's been doing that for years. So when 2016 elections came around, a lot of those stupid things that he says is for a reason. He did very good with marketing back in the 2016 elections.
Yeah,
he's smarter than you think.
What's funny? What was it? South Park or the Simpsons? One of the shows, they made an episode where, maybe it was House of Cards. One of those shows. They made an episode where they assumed that Hillary Clinton already won the election, and they were like, "Oh, well, we have a female president now." And then I think Trump won the election, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we gotta cancel this episode or something." So, which kind of brings me into my next topic about cancel culture, because that pisses me. I'm sorry, no. I'm getting pissed off because, first of all, as I said before, rest in peace, Aunt Jemima. That was a great syrup. Isn't it true? Let me go into that, because I wanna get some clarification. It wasn't that syrup like Aunt Jemima? She was a refugee, was it?
Aunt Jemima.
Or-
So what it was is the person Aunt Jemima, which is not her name, was a former slave.
Yeah, right.
And she had this idea. I'm pretty sure she had the idea for the syrup, and then someone who was actually a business person took her in, used her as the face, and then made it. And then she was able to live a good life and have a lot of money.
She did,
But
yeah.
so
Yeah.
why
And it
why
became
are we
a popular-
canceling? Why are we taking that off?
Because they feel like Aunt Jemima is like a racist thing.
They want to cut all possible ties to slavery.
Yeah, but you can't if you
But you-
decide to erase history.
Every
what
statue,
does that mean?
everything.
Yeah, but I don't like that either. I don't like getting rid of the statues. Okay, fine. Say what you will about what these men of the statues did. Christopher Columbus, no matter who it may be. But these people there's a statue of them for a reason. To take it down, first of all, you're trying to neglect history. History happened. Get over it. There's nothing you can
Yeah,
do.
I mean,
that's it.
Yeah.
You have to learn
You
from
can
it.
do whatever you want to whatever statue, but the meaning of it will remain. So if you want to erase history, you're fucking yourself up. Let me just say
Yeah,
that
because
now.
it'll repeat.
If you fuck up your history, you're doomed to repeat it. We have people right now trying to redo the history that we've already done past.
We are repeating it right now as we speak.
Because we're trying to erase it. You
with-
cannot erase what happened. You have to accept what it is and move on.
Yeah, right now
I'm
this
sorry,
is
that's what
pretty
it
much
It's
this is
reality.
pretty much the shit that was going on for Martin Luther King. Like we're doing the same thing that they were doing.
Yeah.
Like the Black Lives Matter movement is just round 2 of their protests
what
and their
they
movements.
what they want, what Black Lives Matter wants, it cannot be achieved. They want no police.
What do you think they want?
You want me to be honest with you?
I want you to be honest with me. That's why we're here.
That's what the podcast is for.
They want segregation.
Why do you think
100%.
that?
I feel like it's actually separation.
Maybe I'll use the word separation.
I feel like
And
separation's
why do
better.
you think they want separation?
Because it's kind of hard to explain. They don't want to live by our laws, I guess you could say. Because I don't know if you heard about the thing with CHOP, with their
Oh,
whole
yeah, was
inner
that-
city,
The autonomous zone.
The war zone.
The autonomous
I
zone.
want to talk about that.
the autonomous zone.
Let's get into that. What was that? Can you explain what was going on?
This was a complete meltdown of the government of where CHOP was located.
Which
the
is Seattle.
protests were so large, and what city was it?
It was in Seattle.
It was in
Washington.
Seattle, Washington. The protests were so large that basically the mayor of Seattle gave the protesters this small 5 square area of city blocks, basically, to basically live in and manage themselves. The police department that was there moved out. The police station that was there in CHOP was no longer there, and that became the headquarters of CHOP. However, it didn't work out as planned, is because there was like 3 or 4 shootings there.
Yeah, because human
within a
human
week.
nature. It's
Well,
just
some
human
people
nature.
saw. I guess people were murdered.
Yeah,
people were
and there,
shot and
there were
killed, yeah.
people.
Yeah.
There were also
Yeah.
people that were trying to make people like pay other people money.
I want to get into that because I saw the video and there's this
Yeah, what do
guy.
you think about
There's
this?
this guy standing there. He's like, before you leave this autonomous zone today, I want you to go to a person of color and give them $10. I'm like, what the hell? Listen. If you gave anybody $10, you're a freaking simp. Like,
I mean, yeah, sure.
yeah, you're dumb. Like you're honestly.
We got enough of
That
those.
is not the point. Like giving someone $10 is not the point.
I'm going to address an elephant
Really?
in the room, and I talked about this a little while ago. Another reason why I believe Black Lives Matter is sort of a hypocritical movement is because they want to remove this stigma that people have about black people in everyone's minds.
Which is.
Which, the average black person is from the ghetto and grew up badly and all that, and you don't want to drive into their neighborhood because they might mug you or something.
Also,
like
some
that.
boys in the hood. and
You
stuff.
know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. The only way to remove this stigma from these people's minds is to approach the problem that is causing said stigma. The reason why some white people think like that is because the statistics, the amount of black on black crime in these suburban cities, these packly dense cities, are so large, and hugely based on the African American populations that live in there, that it overwhelms basically every other majority. That's why you don't see white people driving in like ghetto neighborhoods and stuff like that. It's because, truth be told, they're scared. Absolutely scared.
Yeah.
If you want to remove that stigma, lower those crime statistics, do something good about the community about there and improve the lifestyle.
How's that done?
And well, I feel like it was a problem that was created like back in the day because I feel like how it is, and especially you could definitely tell in New Jersey, everyone, like specific ethnicities, are segregated into separate sections. So
they have their tribes, right? They have their tribes.
So how I see it is, especially as I know, and Nick knows as well, like places like Jersey City and Union City, that was like filled with Italians.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Filled to the brim with Italians.
Yeah.
And then we have places like Newark, places like Camden. A lot of those places filled with mostly African Americans. And then usually when you get lower down into like the like where you call suburbia, that's where all like the other ethnicities like arise, and that's where they mostly are. And so like having all these segregations made by the government, I feel, and pretty much it's just a herd mentality in a sense.
Of course, it's gonna always
And
be
so
like that.
and just over time and without like real funding and real like actual care for these places, that's where it builds all these things. Now I think Jersey City is now filled with I think all the Italians like left, and I think it's now mostly just
Really?
Middle Easterns and
Indians.
Yeah.
and Indians. But Newark and all them, they're still the same because they haven't really, nothing has really happened like for them, and so I feel like it's just that's a problem in itself. I feel like it's just it's a problem that has happened way too long ago, and nothing has been done about it, and now we're dealing with it because it's just been abused.
That's right, and kind of that's when the situation of self-improvement sort of needs to kick in. You as an individual, let's say you're living in a situation where you're living in like a ghetto and then like what would you call those, like housing complexes, stuff with
The projects, like projects.
Yeah,
I'll use the word projects. You as an individual, it is your responsibility now to get a good job, get good income, move out, and make a better life for yourself. You don't have to stay in the projects if you don't want to. Nobody is forcing you to stay there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I feel like that's also like a mindset issue with people, because a lot of people now are more feels over reals, and so because that they're in the projects, their mindset is so much lower, and so they're like, I'll never get out of here. I can never come to like anything. I'm gonna just join a gang now because I
you
can't.
just become a crime.
Well,
and
that
then
mentality is conditioned into them.
It's
They automatically think they're a victim.
It's not just them; it's conditioned into all of us. But
that's what it is.
I feel like people that are segregated in that way, it just makes it worse for them. Like we all have that problem.
Well, it's
we
like
all have a problem, but but those they have it so much worse.
Well, it's like the question is, what do you do when you assume you're a victim, right? What does a victim mentality get you?
Doesn't really get you.
You're
It won't get you
fucking
far.
nowhere.
If you think you're a victim, you're gonna try to make yourself look like like someone that needs a rescue, and you're gonna make yourself look like the underdog in the situation.
You can only help yourself.
You can only help yourself.
If you refuse to take action on your own life, whether Trump or the government, whatever, you can't do anything. You need to make your own. You need to take your own action. Simple as that.
Yeah.
If you don't like where you live, just work a few hours extra a day.
Get the hell out.
Get the hell out.
You should at least be making some kind of You should be making some kind of transition in order to get better, right? I mean, you should obviously get a better job. I mean, there is opportunity out there, even with Corona. It's still going on at this moment.
Yeah.
There are still opportunities for jobs. Sure.
This is
Still
still
plenty,
the land
yeah.
of opportunity.
Go online and look. There's always something.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize that, and then listen, you really can't afford to live in a city anymore. So if you're a minority, move out of the city.
Cities are very expensive.
Yeah, they're very expensive. They're not good neighborhoods, and you know what? Listen, there's definitely plenty of jobs. If you ever go on one of those job apps, even if it's just a job at Lowe's or ShopRite, making minimum wage. Who cares? It's a job, and you can definitely, we could afford to live out here. I mean, it's not, even if we wanted to get a really, really
could
cheap
be better, but
apartment,
could be worse.
It could be better, but we have a better situation because we know this is a good area.
Well, I can't just sit here and say, oh, there's no hope, just give up.
Exactly.
Well, why even look for a job, right? Why even do that? Because there's a lot of people that are right now. There are a lot of people that are still on unemployment, they're enjoying this. They're getting paid to do nothing. Fine. So why would they want this to be over? Why do they care? They're getting money. Okay, fine. Unless there are people that have not gotten their employment, which that's a whole other issue. That's definitely the fault of whatever, who's ever in charge of the government, whatever, websites, whatever. But there are people right now that are getting unemployment pay that are not essential, that are getting paid to do nothing at home. And they're having the time of their life. They're fine. Why should they care about going back to work? Why should they have an input unless they have some sort of emotional connection about like a politician or something? Why is it so important for them to get back to work? They can wait this out as long as they want, as long as they're going to get their unemployment money. Get their $600+ a week and be fine. I wish I could say that I was one of them, but I'm not. I'm out here. I'm working and I'm still making less than the people getting unemployment. And am I making myself a victim out of it? No. I'm going to work anyway. Okay, it is what it is. But you can make the best out of your situation. But if you assume that you're a victim, you're already putting yourself down low in the bar. You're already setting a low bar for yourself. You're already putting yourself at the bottom of the barrel when there's plenty of opportunity around you still. There is always a way. I know, like, even around me, I know a lot of landscaping businesses right now that are looking for people that are trustworthy to show up to work. So there are a lot of companies right now that would just appreciate someone to show up for work.
No, exactly.
And a lot of these people come like, oh, I don't have any money, I have nothing, I'm useless, I'm stupid, there's nothing I can do. And there's a lot of places that will just accept someone coming in to work on time. But a lot of these people don't want to do the work. They assume they're a victim. And when you get an entire population that assumes they're a victim, what do you get?
Exactly, yeah.
Bunch of shit.
I mean,
You're absolutely right.
there is a silent majority that doesn't want to do the work.
And I will.
Simple as that. If you're getting unemployment checks, you don't want to do the work. Why should you have to do the work? If your unemployment paychecks got through and you're making enough money in order to pay rent, or you're still living with your parents getting unemployment, you don't need to go back to work right now. You could wait this out. This is no problem for you. You could chill out. You could be part of the silent majority that are using the government's money to do nothing.
Absolutely, you're right. And I will key in this fact that all of us in this room, we all live in New Jersey. Not a single one of us in this room can afford a house here in New Jersey.
Why?
At least
why
not
do you
yet.
think that is? I mean,
well, one, because the New Jersey homeowners tax is so high, but two, we're still young. We're squeezing every dollar we can into a college degree, and we're bettering our education in hopes of getting a better job.
You know, the thing is that, is it easy? No. Is life supposed to be easy? No.
No.
Whoever told you life was easy was full of shit and was given some kind of bullshit inheritance, so that's on them.
Yeah.
Fine. But you gotta do the work.
There's no easy mode for the average
It's all about
Joe,
the hard work.
Easy mode doesn't exist. If it did, we wouldn't be here right now. Trust me. We'd all be on a yacht right now going to Bermuda. I guarantee that. But we're
that'd
not.
be nice.
Well, but if you, once again, as I said, victim mentality is something else. If you think you're a victim, if you think you're oppressed, if you think that everyone's out to get you, you're going to make an excuse as to why. You're going to create a side and you're going to ask people to join that side. And you're going to make a cause. You're going to make something out of thin air to support your reason.
And the only thing that'll be oppressing you is you.
Precisely. And you don't want to do the work to get out of that tough spot.
That's it. Hit the nail on the head right there.
So everyone out here, everyone's trying to make an argument. Sometimes there is no argument, but there has to be made one just to because once again, if you're home, you're bored, you're not going to work like the rest of us, and you're sitting on unemployment right now. Okay, granted, sure, maybe it's not the best job you want right now, but
stop being a freeloader and go to work.
Go to work.
Do something
I would say
productive.
go to work. I mean, if you can't
I'll
find
take your
work,
job. Like, I'll take your job.
So there's a lot of
might
people
have
that
you might have
probably-
had a really good job. I'll take it.
Yeah, I would take it too.
There's a lot of people that probably want your job.
I'll take their jobs like it's nothing. Shit, I'll do it.
Like I do see people that they're not out of work right now, but they're making work. Like they're using, or at least like we could talk about lockdown too. Like Mike, what have you done during lockdown?
Bro, we've been running every single day for like almost 3 months. Like this is legit every day, nonstop. There has like 3.5 mile long runs every day, straight. You and me. Sometimes we'll have Joe. Sometimes we'll have George. We'll have our friends, and we'll run and we'll get it done.
And we still go to work.
And we go to work.
And sometimes we might not even make as much as people who are on unemployment. But
Yeah.
are we considering ourselves victims? I never got a stimulus check. Am I going on Facebook and saying, I didn't get my stimulus check. What the fuck's going on? No, I'm going to work anyway because I have to. Because
Yeah.
I actually have to go to work.
Yeah, and I want to make money. So
sitting around complaining doesn't pay the bills.
Complaining
Yeah.
doesn't solve anything. It never did throughout our entire history. We've never had it as easy as a human species as we do today. Whether Corona, whether whatever excuse you may make to why you can't be where you want to be. The excuse is that you're not doing the work. The excuse is maybe you have a talent, maybe you have a skill, but you're not utilizing it to the best of your ability. Now, a lot of us have become weak, unfortunately. And in order to make up for that, we need to create all of these excuses and different, things to make, there's always a bad guy. And the fact that we're in an election year makes it a whole lot worse.
Yeah, it's
we
multiplied.
can
this
get
is like
into
the
that.
worst time. I feel like every time there's an election year, something fucking happens.
Every time.
Something.
Every
Yeah.
time.
There's always something, and this year is just the culmination of it all.
Oh my god.
This year is the culmination of it all. Australia on fire, freaking Kobe Bryant's dead, coronavirus,
The Iran thing.
the Iran thing,
All
the
my
World War
movies are
III
being
almost
postponed.
happening. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, and my movies are being postponed. What the hell?
Yeah, the movies. Yeah, the Marvel movies are being postponed.
Yeah, fuck,
Fucking
man.
the Black Lives Matter protests. There's so many different things going on. That's just that this year is like the worst.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff too. It's like you said, you jump from one thing to another so quickly that you just realize it's almost a trend to a
You
point.
can't even keep up.
Yeah,
It's-
people
there's-
it's meant to be a distraction for people, or to distract people, I should say. It's just, it's always an election year, but when the election's over, just like in 2016, things calmed down quite a bit, like almost, right after everything was said and done. But it takes a little while. But yeah, it's gonna eventually not be as crazy as it is now.
Oh, yeah.
And let's get. So
It's only halfway over.
we kind of jumped the gun and skipped one of the things we were trying to get back into. So let me jump back into cancel culture real quick. And so cancel culture, I've seen a lot of it, and some people are really deserving of being canceled. Some people are really deserving of it, but then like you see things like Jenna Marbles, like one of the nicest YouTubers I've ever like seen, and like because I've watched a few of her videos, and like she's a really genuine person. She's a nice person.
Yeah.
Like
Well, why were they canceling her?
so in 2011, now granted these videos that she made, we're not probably in hindsight we're probably not the greatest pieces of content to ever put out, but there was a video where she was doing a parody of Nicki Minaj, and so she was trying to play the part. And so she had darkened her skin with makeup and wore the wig, and she looked exactly like Nicki Minaj. She did whatever, and then there was a rap song that she did where she was saying something about Asians or whatever. Like people do like these edgy things in a lot of videos, like Filthy Frank. Like, come on, like Filthy Frank did like the worst things, and like so people were, and like she had removed those videos like years ago, like a year ago or like 8 months ago, and now like in the last couple weeks, like people were pretty much bullying her off YouTube.
Yeah.
They pretty much bullied her off YouTube, and so like now the thing that she loved to do, she doesn't want to do anymore.
Wait till they find out what Robert Downey Jr. did in 2007, Tropic Thunder.
Oh my God!
Believe it or not, he is actually getting fire from that.
No, what?
I am reading it. I
Wait, what do
read
you
an
mean?
article a couple weeks ago that there's a group of people who are pissed off that he got away with that.
Oh, they're gonna fuck off.
He
was a
literally
good
did
movie.
it because it is the point. He did it because it's the point that it's dumb. The whole purpose of him doing it was pretty much saying that doing blackface isn't like a cool thing and it's not like right. And that's pretty much why he did it. Drop a Thunder. Like that was the purpose of it. That's why they wrote it
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
He was just a dude playing the dude disguised as
The
another
dude. Yeah.
So why do you guys think that people are so quick to cancel all these things? Like there was episodes of TV shows that are being canceled. To name a few, maybe you guys know.
I'll tell you why, because people are too damn sensitive nowadays.
People. Let me just say this: people are little fucking bitches.
I
about
agree,
everything.
100%.
That's the
People
best
are
way to
little
put it.
bitches about every single thing out there. Someone could have said, something dumb like 8 years ago. Like example, James Gunn. He said some tweets in 2012 or 2008 or something, and he said some weird things, and everyone says some weird things on the internet. And because of those tweets, almost a decade ago, he gets fired from Guardians 3. He's like the best director that Marvel has.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
they get rid of, and then they have to get rid of him because people are trying to cancel him. And then he goes over to DC, and now everyone loves him, and now everyone forgets about the whole thing of his tweets, and then they bring him back. And like I feel like James Gunn is the only person to survive cancel culture. He's the only one because he still got his job back, but he was canceled.
If I was him, I wouldn't even have taken that job back.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't have either. But I feel like he only did it because they wouldn't have done anything with the Guardians, and he wanted to finish that out, and he likes the people that he worked with, like on the set, like the cast, and the cast was literally fighting to get him back, to the point where they were all gonna leave, especially Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista was about Bautista was about to leave. Like,
they were good for that.
Pissed.
Someone needs to stand up to the cancel
and
culture
it was
and
dumb.
all that.
Like that shit is dumb. The way that they did that with him,
Yeah.
and a lot of people. Now, granted, some people probably do really deserve it. But there are some that really, it's really like ridiculous that they're trying to do it. And then there's also the people that are accusing others of sexual abuse.
Oh, that's a whole.
And it's a lot of like women that are doing it, and not there's nothing against women doing that, because there are men that are scum of the world that are actually doing those things to them. That is a thing that people do, but there's also the women that are just trying to make themselves look better and taking down the other people.
Well,
for example, Angry Joe. It happened to Angry Joe. This woman tried to do that to Angry Joe. He got on top of it. He clarified everything, and then she stopped because it wasn't true.
Well, that goes back to.
I'm glad you brought this up, because did you hear the story about Johnny Depp and what's going on with his wife?
That was a whole thing before, right?
It was before.
Yeah, and she shat on his bed, and she pretty much abused him, and like he also did something, but like they were all about her, or they were all like safeguarding her and attacking Depp, but Depp was the one in the right, and so now they've pretty much fired what's her face from Aquaman 2. Mm-hmm. Thank God. She did not deserve to be in freaking Aquaman 2.
Well, technically, this goes back to victim mentality, I would say.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the people who... Okay, so some girls, yes, they're correct, and some allegations are true, obviously. Not everyone is innocent, as we know. No matter what gender you are, you may not be innocent. But there are people who will use this movement, I guess, the Me Too movement,
as their own
example.
advantage.
They'll use it, exactly. They'll use it to get a good payday. I mean, if you remember back in 1993, and then it was again in 2000 something. Michael Jackson was accused of sexual assault, and I'm pretty sure that he was proven wrong. I mean, the girl was proven wrong, that he didn't do it. So it does happen.
Yeah.
And like there are some cases which may be true. Like what was it? What's his name? There's Bill Cosby, which it might actually just be true because he's
that turned out to be true. Yeah, I think.
And then there's Kevin Spacey, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there are. And
what's the other guy? The movie producer guy.
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein.
Sometimes, yes, it is true. As Hollywood sometimes can be a dangerous ground. Yes, of course. This is human history. I'm sorry. Once again, go back to the history thing. You can't erase history. Humans have their own agenda, no matter what. Everyone has their own little thing that they're after. It's just human nature. I'm sorry, you cannot escape that. But to recognize it is something, and sometimes it is true. These things do happen, and we got to recognize those things. Absolutely, I'm all against for the fight of that. But if there's a big movement and a big crowd going on, there are going to be some people that are going to jump in that crowd and be that little fly in the wall kind of thing. Like, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? Because let's face it, everyone has a plan. Well, what that plan is up to them, but it could be good or bad. But some people have an agenda to do something for themselves. So when Michael Jackson was being sued by those girls back in 1993 for that first sexual assault allegation, those girls, I'm pretty sure they were just trying to get some money, and they were proven wrong.
Yeah.
So this does happen time and time again. But sometimes it's wrong, and sometimes it's right, because maybe it did happen. But it doesn't change the fact that when people have an agenda and they have a mission, they're going to do whatever it takes to try to get what they want.
Oh, yeah.
It's simple as that.
Yeah.
Same thing with all the Black Lives Matter, the protests. There are always going to be those certain people that have a certain plan.
Yeah.
There's always a plan.
And
right?
and I feel like the problem is that, like, because of the Me Too movement and everything, everyone is now proven guilty until proven innocent, where it needs to be the opposite.
Yeah.
Especially when it is actually false, and it does happen. Like, everyone tries to cancel and destroy people's lives when these things are just fallacy. People are not saying the right things, and he's and this guy who is being accused of sexual assault didn't actually do anything, and so his life is already in shambles because because of this person accusing him, and so now he has to live the rest of his life like in where people just look at him as, oh, I thought he, assaulted this woman once. We shouldn't ever have him like on a show or something, and they have to deal with that now. And I feel like that's also taxing on people, and especially how we live now, with the reels over feels. Like those people that might have that mentality, they're not gonna be able to take that well.
The news likes to I guess trend the news that's going on nowadays, because as of right now, it's the news outlets milk a story for a couple of months and then they move on to something else.
Yeah.
It's interesting that nobody is talking about the Me Too movement anymore. It's interesting to know that nobody's talking about LGBTQ rights now anymore. Nobody's talking about that anymore because it's not interesting anymore.
But it will be again, Mark. They're gonna come. It's gonna happen again.
Yeah, there's gonna be a trend where it comes back.
Sure.
It always does, because
be
that's
there
always
for
a
month.
popular thing to talk about, right? And then people need that indignation. But go on, I'm sorry.
Sure. And right now it's all about the Black Lives Matter and then police brutality movement, and then it's going to be something else in the next 2 months that everyone's going to shift their focus on. It's like the everything has become trends nowadays, where the media just likes to take a story and then just beat it like a drum until it's dead, and then move on to another one. It's crazy. It's inconsistent.
Yeah, and the media will also try to cancel everybody too. When people are trying to cancel someone, the media will get on top of it, and then it goes mainstream, and then that's going to be a huge problem. We need a cancel culture, because this is when is this going to stop? When everyone gets canceled and there's no one to cancel anymore?
I mean,
this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's the land of the lawsuits, guys. So everybody's afraid to get sued. So that's why immediately
because
upon
everyone's allowed
accusing
to get sued
somebody,
now.
you get canceled immediately.
Now
So
we live in this day and age where the NFL has to play the black national anthem before the regular national anthem.
What is
Before kickoff.
am I allowed to ask what is the black national anthem?
it was you can go ahead.
I have to agree.
it
What
was-
is that?
Yeah,
I'm so
it's
confused.
The
interesting.
black national
Interesting.
anthem. Was it Abraham Lincoln's birthday?
Yeah, it was a
this-
poem for his birthday, and they were gonna
What?
Yeah, it was like a poem made for his birthday or whatever, and and then I forgot, it was early 1900s. NAACP kind of coined it as the Black National Anthem for some reason, and
The statue that was torn down at Lincoln Park, the statue of Abraham Lincoln, is the reference of the black national anthem. That
So
same
isn't
man.
that a form of segregation?
Yes.
In a way. I mean,
100%.
Well,
does
it's
that
like
make
you
any
say-
sense?
You would think, I saw this the other day, you would think there was like, a Latino national anthem or white national anthem. I mean, we have a national anthem for the United States because we're all
we
supposed
are
to
a
be
nation.
united. Yeah,
We are a nation. That is what a national anthem
Yeah,
is.
now
Say
we're going and
just-
creating our own national anthems. I mean, what's going on here?
To say black people have to have their own national
Now that is
anthem and
segregation.
aren't held to the same standards as the national anthem.
Wouldn't that be?
of our whole-
Shouldn't it be called a racial anthem?
That's systematic
Yeah.
racism.
Well, it's like
right
people
there.
trying to tear down
100%.
statues for things that go against their narrative, right? That's
I saw a
That's
news
not
report
right.
that the Black Lives Matter movement took down a statue of an elk somewhere. I don't remember
Why?
where it
But
was.
why?
Don't
Of
know.
an elk.
They burned it. I don't know.
They
What?
got angry.
It
They got
was just a
angry
statue
at
of
the
an elk.
I mean,
Google
listen,
it.
with the whole statue thing too, I saw someone post on Facebook, well, like, who cares if someone tears down a statue? You got textbooks and you got books to read, and we learn this in school. I'm like, most people don't even read books nowadays.
Yo,
so
who's
you're not gonna be
reading
learning-
books
you're
about
not gonna be
history?
I feel
learning
like
about this.
I feel like a couple of us in this room are the only people that read books.
Yeah, I mean, I
And I
read-
never-
think about-
never
well,
wanted
yeah,
to
but
read books.
How many people in the world are reading history
but
books?
that's the point.
How many people
I-
research
I-
history after high school?
I love history.
Let's
I
be
love
honest.
history too, yeah.
All the information we get is on this little fucking screen. That
Yeah,
we
yeah,
put
okay.
3
That we
inches
shove in
from
our faces.
But how many
Yeah.
people are looking at the history of us? They're not.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not. Some are, definitely. But how interested are we generally as a nation in history, in our own history?
A lot of people aren't, and I followed up with the reading history and stuff after school, and even during college, and
A lot of
and
people don't.
the
They
problem
don't.
is everybody thinks it's about dates and generals that were born
It's
during
about
this
the
time.
meaning also as well behind the dates.
Yeah.
Why did this happen,
Um,
and how did we get here from there? How does history relate to now? And if we forget that, I'm afraid we're doomed.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, things are gonna go backtrack.
Especially in this country. Today's actually July 4th. Happy Independence Day, everybody.
Exactly. That's why we're doing this. Happy July 4th, everybody.
Today-
Independence Day is a great movie.
Today is the 244th year birthday of this country, and so much history has been crammed into that 244 years. So much.
A lot.
A civil war, 2 world wars, many revolutions.
Wars against Britain.
Vietnam.
2 wars against Britain.
Korean War, Vietnam.
A war like every 10 years. And it's crazy how much history we have, and that people don't really appreciate, what.
Of course not. Well, I mean, like, I, for one, appreciate what America... It's about what we stand for. Not necessarily what we're doing right now and all these agendas, but it's about the basis of our foundation. I mean, our forefathers, we fought like hell. And not even, if you remember the revolution, not all of us fought for... Not everybody was against Britain. There was a lot of people that were for Great Britain. Yeah, they were like, you know what? I don't think we should really do that. There were the people that were like, oh, let's not fight. Let's just comply. Yeah, there were people like George Washington, the George Washington Army. They made this country. I mean, those little militant groups are the ones who actually, if we were not, if they chose not to fight, where would we be? I mean, we'd never be our own country. None of this would have ever transpired.
They fought for a better future.
Yeah.
And what are we doing right now? Are we disrespecting them by taking down our history? Are we really making everything better by taking down a Christopher Columbus statue?
George Washington
was Christopher Columbus the best guy in the world? No,
absolutely not.
But what was
his accident was probably one of the best accidents to happen, even though he didn't actually find this big part of the land itself. He found the Caribbean, but that doesn't matter at the moment. Him and the other explorers are the reason why that this piece of land is occupied by us. They're the reason. Him, Hudson, this, what is his name? He's the guy that found Florida. Him, all of them. They're the reasons why that this is here. And Pulaski too. He was in Canada, but all those people are the reasons why we're here. And then you get people like Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, George Washington. Those guys. John Adams, they were the ones that built the foundation of this country.
The founding fathers.
The legit founding fathers of this country. They're the reasons why that we're here. They built this foundation that we need to stick upon and rebuild, because we are just tearing ourselves down. We're making ourselves weak.
But I think a lot of people right now do not realize what America truly stands for.
Yeah,
not anymore.
I mean, absolutely. I mean,
because it all comes from these ideologies that we have, all these different ideas, all these different agendas, so to speak. And that's why everyone wants an input. Everyone has a voice now, thanks to the internet. Anyone can say whatever they want.
And I feel, and again, that's why I feel like George Washington was right about having political parties, because now you have ideologies of truths. You have a truth,
but everyone has their own truth. So what is the truth?
And it's
everyone
has skewed now. And so
the truth about this, the truth about Black Lives Matter. There's always the truth, but sometimes the truth is like objective or subjective. There's always different. Everyone has their own truth.
Absolutely.
So what is the real truth then? If everyone has a truth, what is the general consensus of a truth?
Like there's individuals who say the police shouldn't exist. There's no reason to have a police force. Well, I could tell you this right now. I'll be happy to get you a plane ticket to a country that doesn't have a police force. Because in those countries they're dragging people out in the streets and just cutting their heads off like right there. It's people don't appreciate what they have here, and that's kind of the problem. People got fat, entitled, lazy. I want everything here in this country. That's the mindset that goes through everybody's minds nowadays. Nobody knows how to work for things anymore. Nobody knows that they actually have to do things once in a while to get what they want. And other people just don't know that we're all the same fish in the same ocean and here,
And who was this that was creating the Black National Anthem? Who's this?
The NFL.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Such a
Yeah, listen, if you're I feel like you're at this point you're just pandering. You can't get any worse.
You're bending the knee.
Well, exactly.
You're just bending the knee.
It's like, and you got all these guys kneeling, and what's funny is I see a lot of videos on Twitter of people that are like, you see the police in the lines, and they're basically just guarding what's going on, and the people getting in their
just
faces,
throwing shit at them.
Yeah. They're like, oh well, you ain't shit, and your fucking uniform, and these cops are just standing there. They're taking it like, okay, they're doing their job, they're fine, and these people coming at them, throwing shit at them, and is that really the best way to handle all this stuff?
Like the protests,
are we not better than that?
The protests that were happening here in our state, and especially in this close proximity in the towns that are right here, as far as I was aware, because I know I have friends that were participating in those protests.
Yeah.
A lot of cops were joining them, and they were very respectful and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were in the protests with them. Some of them were protesting.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were making sure that they were all safe.
Exactly.
That's the way.
Yeah, I mean, even one state they were having a barbecue with the cops instead of protesting. I mean, especially when you see all these riots going on, it's like you got to think to yourself, why can't we do this everywhere? What we're seeing here.
Yeah, well, it goes back to cops once again being in a dangerous environment. I mean, as I said, what if you're a cop and you're in a place where people want to fucking kill you? They want to avenge their fallen brothers, right? So what do you do? Is you have to kind of maybe you have to go with them. You have to chill out. You can't just be that one cop that says, you know what? No, you got fuck you guys. Because people, let's face it, everyone's against the cops right now. It's just kind of how it is. So if you're that cop that says, you know what? No, I'm not taking that shit. People, they'll try to put you down real quick. So I understand. I can see why the cops are kind of like trying to conform. They're trying to prove something now. Now the cops are trying to prove that they're not too bad.
At the end day, we're all the same people. The same people who are out there protesting are the same people who have the same feelings as police officers. They just carry a badge and a gun. That's the only difference.
Do I agree that there are some cops that abuse their power?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, fine. You give a guy with a bad mentality. And maybe a cop like Derek, I forgot his last name. I'm sorry. Okay, maybe a cop like that is racist, and yeah, he did that shit on purpose. Yes, there are bad cops, there are bad seats, and these departments should do the best of their ability to weed those guys out. And you could do that through training. I do believe that if you invest enough money in training, you could weed those guys out through situations. You could tell what a guy's mind is if you give him certain situations, what he'll do. Unless he's a complete fake. Which is why I say you should give cops more training. But to assume all cops are bad is not the best idea.
Yeah.
And cops, a lot of people are not going to admit it, but a lot of these cops, they do save lives. I'm not choosing a side right now, but I'm stating the obvious. You cannot say every cop is bad.
I have an interesting story to tell you, actually. New York City. I don't remember what date this was. This was actually recently, maybe 2011 or 2012. New York City, the governor of New York City passed a law for the police officers, saying if there ever is a situation where there's a fire in a building, a police officer cannot jump into said building, to save any individuals. Because apparently that has been happening so many times that police officers actually kill themselves jumping into burning buildings trying to save people. Interesting story.
Is there a high suicide rate among cops?
Unfortunately, there is, but I think that's actually.
I feel like that's all like law enforcement, military. Yeah. I feel like it's a lot of that. Especially military.
Because let's face it, suicides for the statistics are not talked about at all. I've rarely seen it. I mean,
I do understand.
It's happening. It is real. I mean, like I was saying in the beginning of this, that a lot of cops go through this trauma, years and years of it. The mind can only take so much punishment.
Absolutely.
Right? So what happens when you endure so much punishment? You can't take it no more. I do believe that if you go through certain situations as a police officer or even a civilian, you need to take some time away to get your mind right. Because if you're constantly in the field and you go through some horrific shit, okay, fine. A human mind is a human mind, whatever you want to say.
Every person, you, me, every man, woman, everybody who puts on a uniform, not even police, just military too, military personnel, anyone that has to save other people for a living, everybody has their breaking points.
Everyone does.
Everyone.
I mean, if you remember back in Vietnam, when the Vietnam vets came home, not only were they fucking scarred for life because of what they seen, but they came home to people treating them like shit.
Yeah, everyone shat on them.
Yeah. I mean, once again, you have to look back at history, and history will teach you many things if you pay attention to it right.
It was hell back then in the 60s.
If you were a Vietnam vet and you just got home from war and you're disabled, you might be in a wheelchair because you might have lost your leg in Vietnam and people are coming at you like you're a fucking pig. How does that affect your mental state? You come home expecting people to cheer you on like it's World War II, but it's not World War II no more. People don't care about the Nazis anymore.
It's
just a different situation. It's a different world now.
And hate you now for being in the military.
Vietnam is the best example because when soldiers came back, they received nothing but hate from the public.
That was the first war that was ever televised.
The Vietnam War was
when
hell.
People find out what's really going on, they're not going to think the same. World War II, we don't know what the fuck soldiers did to Nazis, what Nazis did to soldiers once they killed them. We don't know. But we do know the effects of Vietnam had on our soldiers, and we do know what was going on now, what's going on with these cops. We know what the mental trauma that they're going through video, or anything. Yes, so they're bad cops, sure. But not everyone is trying to treat everyone as equally as it seems.
Absolutely.
On both sides.
It's not a black or white situation. There's many shades in depth to the situation. Everybody, of course, is trying to do their best as you know, even as cops. You know, cops are absolutely trying to do their best for their community and all that. But it's
I think everyone is sort of trying to do their best, but some people don't even realize their full potential.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you for bringing up the Vietnam War, because that's actually very interesting. The Vietnam War, the American side sustained the most casualties out of every other side. Technically, we lost the Vietnam War because Vietnam is still a communist country, and we ended up pulling out of it completely. It was just hell for everybody. Yes, you're right. People did get their arms and legs blown off in the Vietnam War, and everyone was scarred for life.
They came home, and they were criticized anyway.
Yes.
You may have just lost a leg, but fuck you anyway. So for even fighting. Fuck you for fighting.
So these individuals who fought for people who were very unappreciative of them, now scarred for life. If you ever went down to like a VFW to hear these people's stories, they're just amazing. Like the war stories, and how the hell could you like survive this, and how do you get the courage of fighting for, you know, someone who's doesn't even want you to fight for them. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and it makes you just want to appreciate these you know, people who put their lives on the line every single day to just protect us, no matter what. No ifs, ands, or buts. Just jump into the fire and then pull people out, and just that in general. And that's kind of reflects on what police officers do nowadays, because cops are first responders. They do have to be the first ones in, first ones out. If the second people start running from gunshots, the police are the ones that have to jump in there and try to stop it and strategize and all that. It's hell. It's definitely hell. And until a lot of people know what hell feels like, I don't think they have any room to talk whatsoever.
What do you think?
I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I mean, you know, we know what they go through, you know, and history just repeats itself. So every time something like this happens, we know what these guys are going through, and they probably won't ever change for them, you know, sadly, because everybody's always going to have to hate somebody for some reason.
Absolutely.
So it's unfortunate, because these people choose to, you know, take these jobs for a reason, not because they hate the people they're protecting. They love the people they're protecting. They're going to put their life on the line for that reason. They want to protect their community, and they want to, you know, give back. They
care about other people's lives more than they do their own.
Exactly.
I just wish there was an easier way to weed out the bad ones, right? I mean, how would you weed out the bad ones?
It's very impossible, because every workplace has their bad eggs. Yeah, are all your employees good employees working in your job? Honestly,
no.
Obviously not. That's the same in every profession, every single job. Corporate offices, janitorial positions, police officers.
Well, the other thing is that these cops are given, they're given power. Some of them, the bad ones, they're given power. What they do with that power is on them, and sometimes it's for the worse. Now, there's obviously two sides of the coin of this equation, of course. I mean, not everyone's innocent. That's the reality of it. I'm sorry. Not everyone is innocent, but not everyone is also a victim. So where does that come in?
This also keys into the thing where everyone has the same opportunity. I mean, let's say you and Mike here decide to go first, the same job, for whatever reason. That job has to determine between each of you which one of you are going to get the position. Who's to say you're not going to get the position? Who's to say you're not going to get the position? What you're talking about is a system to weed out who is good and who is bad. That is impossible to do. No job can know you're going to be good at this job or you're going to be bad at this job. It's impossible. Both of you have the same opportunities to get same job starting in, and they'll pick whoever they choose.
That's what you do with that opportunity.
Do they know who's going to be a bad egg 10 years down the line when, you know, they finally snap at, you know, the one drug guy that decided to fucking call him a fuckhead or something like that? Absolutely not. Departments don't know that. It's a mentality thing.
Yeah, I also feel like police departments, they should have like psychiatrists for like their officers, for like, you know, if someone goes through like a dramatic experience like on the field, I feel like they should be able to just have someone like that they can go to and they can, you know, rehabilitate, because without that, I feel like without that, being able to snap and do something terrible can happen a lot quicker.
Especially
that
if
way.
you're under a certain amount of stress.
Yeah.
I would
They
say.
do actually. There's a lot of counties that do offer like a psychiatric
I feel like that should be on a national level.
because it is really bad because no
Yeah.
man on this earth has the right to take the life out of another man
Yeah.
regardless. And some officers are just forced to have to, and that can be absolutely very traumatic
Yeah.
on everybody. When you have to pull the trigger and then a guy that was alive is no longer alive.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's a very powerful emotion.
Well, that could change your whole life. That could change your mindset. That
Yeah.
can create
Everything.
an extraordinary amount of trauma, I would say, right?
Now, Nick, I want to ask you a question.
Mhm.
And I don't know where it's going to go, but I feel like I do, but I just want to say it.
Okay.
What is your feelings on the Blue Lives Matter? Do you feel like that should be a thing, or do you think that shouldn't be a thing?
I think it's just as bad as Black Lives Matter. To subsidize one section of people over another people is bad. When you have to put a certain group of people on a what's the word I'm looking for? When you put them on a not a platform, the fucking pillars thing. Pillar, okay. When you have to put one on a pillar.
on a pedestal.
A pedestal, that's what I'm
That's
looking for.
the word.
When you had to put one group of people on a pedestal over another, that doesn't help the problem at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the Blue Lives Matter movement is just in reference to give backing of these officers who are being oppressed by, let's say, Black Lives Matter, for an example. I don't think it has anything to do with trying to establish its own credibility. But
Because I feel like the Blue Lives Matter, because the thing with Blue Lives Matter is that police officers, people in law enforcement, they chose to be in that position. They chose to be in this job. They feel like that they can make a difference and do something about it, right? And so like they know that they're putting their life on the line every day. They put that uniform on. And so it's not that they don't matter, but like they always mattered. It's just a matter of you can't say that you can't say Blue Lives Matter because they are supposed to put their life on the line. They're supposed to do that because they're trying to help everyone. Like it's a choice that they make.
The sad truth of it, all lives matter, but the reality is
No life matters.
No lives matter. Once we get to a certain age, we're out of high school. All of life is just one big ocean, and we're just.
But I mean, the
guppies.
Blue Lives Matter technically did happen after the Black Lives Matter.
It was a response.
Well, for this year, who knows what's gonna happen a couple years from now. But I mean, it's sort of a retaliation, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, for some of these guys, at least, maybe depending on the area that these cops are in, it's probably a breath of fresh air for them, saying like, hey, we're not getting rocks and bricks thrown at us or Molotov cocktails.
There's actually people backing us. And
we feel
supporting us.
supported. Yeah.
Do you think that cops are victims right now? Well, this is a question to both the Knicks.
Ew. It's.
I think there's a big spotlight that's on multiple police officers. and
Absolutely.
Well, like more individualistic, or
I would say so. I would say cops have to be very careful nowadays about what they do and what they say.
well, there's a lot of people right now that they're very afraid to become cops, right? Because of all the circumstances
Absolutely.
surrounding it. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that I know that want to become cops, and now they're not sure because they know that if they become cops, there's a lot more risk involved, especially now that the public is not truly on their side.
Yeah.
If you get pulled over by a cop right now, you're probably going to have a different feeling than if you were going to get pulled over months ago.
Absolutely.
I would say.
You're 100% correct.
So what is the solution to that, if there is one?
I don't think there
I
is.
don't think there is a solution.
Yeah.
What I do think is this is going to end up blowing over.
If you had a son, would you recommend him to become a cop?
100%.
Why?
I want my son to understand what the meaning of life is and how every individual should be treated. I don't want my son to know that, you may take a profession that is hated by many
There
people.
is risk. There is risk.
A risky position, but I want an honest job. I want you to have an honest, good modest job to have. Something that you could be proud of having.
Would you recommend your son to be a cop?
No, yeah, I mean, pretty much for the same reasons that this Nick said. I mean, I think a lot of people, like I said, when I went for the state police thing, I mean, it's really you're standing there during the training with other people, and you're side by side, and you're as you're doing the running and everything, you're motivating each other, and you're there for each other. I think it's a career where, you know. You're putting your life on the line. You feel good about what you're doing, and you're with a group of people who want to help the community, bring change, and it's certainly a very definitely a very good career field to get into. If you want to get into law enforcement,
there is a group of people with what I like to call the sheepdog attitude of
what is that?
world, where we feel that we have this overwhelming need to want to help people.
Well, isn't there like a need to fit in, so to speak? Right.
Yeah. Would you say that there is a need to fit in with?
Yeah. I mean, people will definitely feel like they need to fit in. I feel like people should just take life as it goes. Don't try to fit into something because it's not always going to work out that way.
If you like to help people, take a job where you help people.
Exactly.
Regardless of whether the majority of people don't like that position.
Yeah.
Feel what you feel is best.
Mike, if you had a son, would you recommend him to become a cop?
I mean, if that's what he wanted to do, I'm 100% about it. Like, I let him do that because it's something that he's passionate about, and I'm not going to stop anyone that wants to do their passion. Like if they're passionate about becoming a cop, they should become a cop. And I know that if they're passionate about it, they'll do the right thing.
Yeah.
And you gotta build these people to treat others with respect. A lot of people sometimes, depending on the the family structure and stuff, they might not be able to get that. They might not be able to learn respect for others. And so that's another thing I feel like we can do is like teach everyone the way of respect. Like every time I get pulled over by a cop or I talk to a police officer, I'm always respectful.
You're calm, right? Because some people get there very, very nervous and they start activating the camera.
I have a lot of anxiety when the moment I get pulled over. Anxiety spikes.
It's automatic.
And that happens. It happens to everyone. Everyone gets that. But when I pull down the window and he walks up to my door, or she, depending on who it is, I'm there. How are you? How's your night going? You need my license registration. Give me 1 second. Let me go grab it for you. Here you go.
There's no trouble.
I never give them trouble. I always have
But there are those people that do decide to start trouble.
Well,
and we've seen this on the videos on the cams,
because people will also record record the things that happen to them while they get pulled over.
Yeah.
And sometimes I know a lot of cops don't like that. They feel like stressed.
Well, think about it. If a cop knows they're being recorded, there's already that stress that's under.
Yes.
So
yeah,
they're automatically, I think, in some instinctual behavior, they're gonna act differently if they know they're being recorded.
Absolutely.
If a cop knows that a citizen has a dash cam on their car when they're pulling them over, they know instinctually that there's going to be a different feeling to that. There's going to be a different dynamic, and they know they're going to have to act a little bit different. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you know you're being recorded, would it be any situation, you're going to act a little bit different. You just may.
Yeah.
Because someone's going to end up watching you from somewhere.
What people don't understand is don't ever fight with the police. If you get pulled over and for speeding that you obviously know you were speeding, don't fight the police. He gives you a ticket. Just say yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Have a nice day,
Because
sir.
we've seen many of those videos online, which the person is resisting. We've seen this.
Even if you get a really douchebag cop who you think is a douchebag and you think you're in the rights, just agree with him.
So
get your
that's
ticket
the best
and
way
leave.
to handle that situation, right?
Yes, because do you know where you fight that said thing? In the courtroom. That's where you fight.
Yeah, you take it in the court. You don't take it to them.
Because once you fight cops in the street, that becomes a problem.
Yeah, that's where all those videos come
Resisting arrest.
You fight cops in the courtroom, and if you win, you win. You might even get money out of it.
Sometimes you do. There are cases in which they go to court and the guy does win against the cop, because sometimes, listen, cops are not perfect. Obviously, they make mistakes, and if there's a ticket that might be false, and then the judge may acquit that ticket and give the guy money back, or he may not have to pay any fine at all.
It has happened. There's a lot of cops who lose court cases. It's fine. Do
you know what happens to those cops after they lose stuff like that?
Nothing.
Does anything happen, or is it just like, okay, fine, you got me?
Absolutely not, because even cops make mistakes, and whether it's like write the wrong date on the fucking ticket. It's the case could get thrown out because of that. And the cop, nothing would happen. The cop goes back to his day. You go back to your day. You might even get some money out of it for the inconvenience of the court fees and all that.
Yeah.
You know. You don't ever fight cops in the streets. If you want to fight cops, you fight them in the
Probably
courts.
not the best idea,
Yeah.
no.
Because once you fight the cops in the streets, that's when you start getting charges on you, and that's when all hell breaks down on you. That's when you go to jail for a very long time.
Or you end up dying.
Or you end up getting killed.
Yeah. It's never a good thing to fight, fight like that.
Absolutely. If
Not at all.
you feel you're in the right, take advantage of the justice system, go to the court of law, win or lose depending what happens, and then let that be the end of it.
Yeah. You can't hold grudges like that, I feel. Like you just shouldn't. You treat everyone with respect. If you feel like you were in the right and they're making you say they're putting you in the wrong, you just take it to the next thing, and but you just treat them with respect. You don't fucking backtalk or nothing, because doing the wrong choices will get you in the wrong situations. You always have to think about the consequences of your actions.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people do not think about the consequences. You always got to be making sure that you're rationalizing everything you do.
Be smart.
Yeah. People need to rationalize the way that they think and the way that they do things. They just gotta have to do things the right way, and for the right reasons. No one does.
Absolutely.
Especially politicians, especially us citizens, especially cops. Everyone does wrong things because we're human. It's natural for us. We always make mistakes, but we need to learn from our mistakes, and we need to push on
Take responsibility
for our actions.
Absolutely.
That's what you
Not
have to
many
do.
people seem to be taking responsibility for what they've caused. I mean,
go back to the politicians.
Oh yeah, they're
well, every politician has some sort of side and agenda that they're kind of making. And if you're like able to remain in office for a certain amount of years, these politicians have a lot of power.
And politicians,
should they have this power is up for discussion.
And politicians always voted in, so they always have to appease the masses because they're the ones.
Yeah, but a lot of politicians don't exactly fulfill their promises.
Absolutely
right?
not.
Absolutely not.
100%
They do not.
How would a citizen better understand what a politician would be like saying? Like how would you be able to trust someone and vote them in if you don't understand what they're saying? If you don't,
you have to kind of do your research. First, you have to find out where you stand.
Well, how many people do their research? That's
not many.
Exactly. So
I'm
that's
sure.
It's like a lot of people don't know what they're voting for, but they're going to vote because they want to feel like they have a voice. I mean, everyone has a voice. What they do with that voice is up to them.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm sure a lot of people don't know that we now have a third candidate in the 2020.
And who is this third candidate for people who may not know?
Joe, whatever her name.
Joe Jorgensen.
Joe Jorgensen.
Oh, well, you got the first name, right?
I feel that if you guys don't want to vote for Biden and you don't want to vote for Trump, definitely I feel voting for her is probably the best thing to do.
Biden and Trump aren't the strongest candidates.
No, and I hate going on Twitter and I hate going on all these different things and seeing people like Joe Biden or Trump, and they're saying, oh, all these things, vote for me, whatever. Like, for example, Joe Biden, he put up a post on Twitter. He said, voting for me will be a voting like for Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. If I'm elected, I will put in whatever legislation.
He was like, if you don't vote for me, you're not
yeah,
black.
And there's that situation. But I'm not even talking about that in a nutshell. But it's just vote for me and I will I will work to the day I die to put in the legislation to help Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. And so I commented. I commented in that thing. I was like, do not even dare put your political system in the Black Lives Matter movement. Do not touch it. And you nor Trump should be allowed to ever talk about that in the political sense of the race, in the political race right now. Do not touch it.
And it's all buried by words.
Because it's not gonna happen. Neither of them will do anything. Probably not even Joe Jorgensen, because like we said before, it'll never end.
Yeah.
Those like systematic racism and all that stuff, it just won't end. That stuff won't end. And so talking about it and doing and trying to put in legislation won't fix it. and neither of them will actually be able to get it to pass anyway.
Yeah.
And we have this war in Congress too. I don't know if you heard about the police bill that was passed by the Republican Party that was shot down by the legislation. There's a big civil war going on in Congress between the Republican and the Democratic legislation, i.e. Nancy Pelosi in the House of Representatives. The Senate passed a bill, the Republican bill, for reform of the police department, something that the Black Lives Matter actually wanted. Something that I don't remember the parts of the bill, but it was supposed to be meaningful for them and help it out. And then it was sent over to the House of Representatives, and it was immediately shut down. The reason believing that the Democrats did not want the Republicans to have the responsibility of reforming the police department, and it wants their sole responsibility to be reformed.
That's exactly. They're going to go back and forth and do that.
They're going to go back and forth.
And that's the whole problem with political parties in a sense, especially when you have two main ones. When you have two main ones, you have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have if you can't have 0, you have to have more than just 2. You have to have 3, 4, 5 main parties. Right now, the Libertarian Party is just third party. Independent is just third party. They're all bunched together into one party of just jumbled up little parties. And especially when we got those mail-in ballots for New Jersey, only says
Republican
that you can
or
Democrat, and you can't choose anything else. And if you leave it blank, it'll be null and void.
See,
and so I threw that shit right the fuck out. I said I'm not
100%.
subscribing to either side because they're both wrong, and we got to fix this.
Yeah.
This is a problem we need to fix.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the thing. A lot of these candidates that are the third party, they usually never have as much money as the other guys, so they never even come close to winning. I mean, my only thing is should there be two parties? Maybe not, but I feel like if you have too many, it's just gonna. It's gonna make things more. Because keep in mind, everything's a bureaucracy. Everything happens in its own time. So if you don't want things to happen too slowly. But yeah, could we use more variety of candidates? Absolutely, but it's it's rough. Maybe more things would get done. House of Representative members, they don't serve that long, so they spend their first year trying to figure out what's going on, and then the second year is just them kind of campaigning. I mean, there's definitely a lot of reform that needs to happen for Congress, but again, people need to make sure they're going out and voting. For one thing.
But a lot of people are not voting. They're not trying.
Yeah.
They're not even.
You're absolutely right. Nick brings up a very good point because at the end of the day, when Congress, the Senate, and the House of Representatives can't even get bills passed through, nothing happens at the end of the day. It's all just politics.
Yeah, and pretty much anything and everything that a president said that they want to happen will never happen, and so it looks like they just lied to you.
Exactly, and then believe it or not, it's more than just the president. It's it's Congress. It's what goes on behind.
Yeah, and it's because of Congress and because of the House of Representatives, like the Senate and the House of Reps. Like they're the ones that make the bills, that pass the bills. And then the president can either say this is cool or this is not cool.
Yeah.
And so if they can't even agree, if Senate and the House of Reps can't even agree on something, then we have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I feel
they rarely do anyway.
That's part two. Nancy Pelosi also having a big hard on to take down Donald Trump.
Well, that's the agenda that I'm talking about. There's always an agenda to take down somebody. So in this case, of course, the 2020 election, the Democrats, of course, they're trying to take down Trump. Even though Joe Biden, I'm sorry, but this needs to be said. I don't care if I say it, but Joe Biden's not the best representation to take down Trump. I mean, they could have come out with someone better.
And
but
it's not the first time the Republicans tried doing the same thing, and during the Obama administration, they were making a big deal with the Iran embassy attack and all that.
It's
just not
no matter which
and
side.
Obamacare
and like it's just a matter of like
it's politics.
Yeah, whichever side is in office, the other side is doing whatever they can to reclaim.
Yeah, well, I want to bring up the important fact that Joe Biden will only accept, and I think this is a problem because Joe Biden will only accept a vice president that is female.
Joe
and,
Biden.
And no,
it doesn't matter if she's qualified.
The Democratic Party,
female.
The Democratic Party want him to to make his running mate as a female of color.
Probably LGBTQ.
And also probably
Yeah.
LGBTQ.
See, now that I mean, come on, guys.
I'm sorry,
Anyone
but
listening to this, that's an agenda. That's something,
That is
there's
Joe
something
Biden.
behind that.
That is an agenda.
Joe Biden will not become president of the United States.
If
Yeah,
if he
that's a
does, he won't last very long. Guarantee that, because there's something. I mean, come on, the guy has dementia or something.
Yeah, I mean, his family
I mean,
definitely
come
needs to
on,
get
look
him
at the
some-
interviews.
The
Look at the
PC
interviews.
world wants to put him up in office, but that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple reasons why that won't happen. I don't know if you guys.
He was fine during the Obama, I guess. Like
Yeah.
during the he was, but I guess as he gets older, I'm pretty sure his mental
his
state
his
is
brain
declining.
is
It's simple as
basically
that.
scrambled
That's why I
at
think,
this point.
I mean, personally, my prediction is that Trump's going to win because people are not going to know who else to vote for. Let's face it, a lot of people are not going to. They're not going to vote for The Rock Johnson.
The
Or they're not
Democrats,
going to vote for Joe Johnson.
the Democrats lost their chance when Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race. I'm
Well,
sorry.
yeah. Well, let's think about it. I mean, for
100%.
2 elections straight, Bernie Sanders was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna kick their ass," and people would have voted for him.
They screwed him
he
twice.
dropped out twice, not just once. I mean, twice. I mean, that's a failure, man. I mean, Bernie,
Yeah.
if you can't even keep your campaign going, I'm sorry, maybe it's just my opinion, but then just if you can't keep up a campaign, maybe I don't know if it was funding. I don't know if Hillary was like, "Yo, don't you fucking dare."
I
could've
honestly-
been.
But
that could have been a thing in 2016. That definitely probably could've
probably,
been a thing.
Yeah, I
but
think so.
the,
It was
the
all in
fact,
vain.
I mean, let's look at the behavior. The man quit twice.
Yeah.
Well, a president is a guy who's
Because they-
should be fit for president. Quits twice? I don't think so.
They cannot find a strong enough person to run as a Democratic.
Let him remain as senator of Vermont. Fine.
That is
But the fact of the matter is that we have Biden and we have Trump, and
Both
a lot of
them.
people. I'm sorry, this is the reality. A lot of people are not going to vote for that third party that we were talking about. Joe,
Exactly.
because they don't know. They don't even know.
because they don't want them to know.
Yeah.
If they knew, they would be like, okay, people would vote for her immediately. I'm not, but the fact that Joe Biden would only allow a female as vice president is scary enough because
Yes.
what if a person that is male is more qualified than any female? I'm just saying, what if
Nope.
what if a male is more qualified than any female that he may have
they
on
don't
his
care-
roster?
they don't care about
but
that.
he says fuck the male. We got to go with the woke female because that's what's important. That's what America's about. And they vote for Joe Biden, and then it's just a bad idea. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to see. People need to understand where this is coming from. There's an agenda behind that. If you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I mean, that's just another. In fact, that might just be hurting them in the process as well.
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely hurting them in the process. I mean, in my personal opinion, I'd prefer a presidential candidate that's going to have a strong foreign
Just
policy.
be qualified.
That-
Be able to
that
run
as
the country
I mean,
well.
you want
That's
someone
all I
who's,
ask.
if you're going to be the figurehead of a country, you want to be able to run it well, foreign policy wise and domestic policy. But my thing is, I feel like states would handle that stuff, a lot of that stuff on their own. I mean, especially with the whole police reform thing. You think some of these Democrats that have been in office for decades, police reform could have happened 20, 30 years ago. So I don't think people should focus less on President of the United States, even focus less on Congress. If you're not going to vote for people of Congress, fine. But when you see those signs in your neighborhood that say vote for this council person, go vote for the council person.
Yes.
It's all about state and local politics.
local politics is
It's-
more important than
It's a
federal
very
politics.
big thing.
100%.
Very big thing. Like I said, I'd prefer a candidate with foreign policy, strengths as opposed to working on domestic
agree.
policy. Because I know my state's going to handle that on their own. It's just
100% agree. Now are we going to get to the sad truth that Trump is going to win the 2020 election?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
let's
want
talk about that a little
I
bit.
wanted to get into predictions for the 2020 election. Mike, let's start with Mike. Mike, what do you think the prediction for the election?
So, I have a few things. I have a few different timelines that's going to happen here. Right? So, the main timeline, which is probably going to happen, right, is going to be that Trump is going to win, and the cycle of the last 4 years is just going to happen all over again with the Democrats, pissing and moaning about him winning, and nothing's ever going to get done because the Democrats are fully against Trump and the Republicans at this
Shut
point.
down every
And
bill he tries to pass.
Yeah, and we will be completely more split than we ever are, right?
Probably.
The bad timeline. This is the bad timeline. The bad timeline is that Biden wins, and I don't. Now let me say that I don't subscribe to either side. I'm not a Republican, not a Democrat.
I agree with that. I am not.
I'm not.
either.
I'm not on either side, and I only say that this is the bad timeline because I feel like Joe Biden right now, at his age, and everything like that. It's just not. He's not going to be able to take it. And if he does win, he's going to die in office. We're gonna by default get a woman president.
Which is what they want anyway.
Which I feel like is what the Democratic Party wanted, because they were so transfixed on Hillary winning. They literally had papers out ready for the next day of the election thing for Hillary to win. That Hillary won and she didn't win.
Yeah.
And so they're just so transfixed on getting a woman president that they will make sure that he gets a running mate of a woman. So when he passes in office, she will become president by default. And that's just how that's going to be. And nothing will still get done because the Democrats are going to be way too radical on their situations, and the radical Republicans will not want it. And it's just going to be a flip-flop. And I feel like the good timeline would be that Jo Jorgensen will win, but that is probably never going to happen because no one even knows that she even exists.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a third party in 2016, and do you remember the name of that? I don't. I personally don't.
His name was, I think, Tim or something. I actually was looking at a lot of his videos, but like
I do remember running because I remember in the ballot boxes I saw them, and I was like, "Who the hell is this person?"
I'll just go next, but I mean,
well, like I was finishing up that no one knows who the third party is, and I feel like if people just put in the effort to really look at these third party candidates and really see their policies and everything, and really take a look at the field, I feel like we have a better job. I feel like we would have a better future as a country if we went for a third party.
Yeah.
So now you can go.
I'll just go next. I mean, my prediction for the 2020 election, I'm gonna say Trump because let's look at the facts. I mean, a lot of people already think that Joe Biden is incapable of becoming president because he's pretty much suffering from dementia. I don't think there's any argument in that. I mean,
Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
Let's say the man becomes president. He's gonna make some lousy decisions. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. And here's the second main topic is that he's gonna, if something happens to Joe Biden, his next runner-up is a female president. I mean, I'm not saying that a female president is bad, but what I am saying is that the agenda behind that reason is bad. So let's say he chooses a female, vice president that is not completely qualified to run a country. If something were to happen to Biden, right? Not do a great job, she can possibly get our country in a bunch of shit only because he wanted to prove a point that a woman of color from the LGBTQ president could possibly become better. That could be a dangerous road. Is it worth a risky investment? I don't think so. So that's why I don't think Joe Biden will win. Because there's a lot of risk involved in that factor. It comes down to risk. I mean, it's my opinion. I mean, you guys could say if I'm wrong, but I think Trump's going to win because personally, I think Trump has more loyal supporters.
100%.
And the key word is loyal because there's a lot of people that firmly think he's the best. They may not love him, but they think he's the best option for the job, and I think that's what's going to get him to win. Because there's no one else that's putting in a fight. I think now let me say that Bernie Sanders could have probably beat him. I think he probably could have, but the fact that he dropped out twice. Now, first of all, a lot of Americans lost respect for him for that decision.
Yeah,
twice he dropped out. I don't remember hearing anybody else doing that. So I think Trump is probably the next best decision besides Biden. Because at least, okay, fine. Trump, does he say a lot of dumb shit? Yes. Is he the best president we've ever had? No. But at least he's fucking consistent. I'm not saying I'm a Trump fan. I'm not saying that I'm voting for Trump or anything. What I am saying is that he might be the best decision for the general population, his loyal supporters. Because there's a lot of people I see that will say yes to Trump. And when you ask them about Joe Biden, they'll be like, I'm just going to vote for him because he's not Trump. That's not good enough. I'm sorry, that's not a great excuse.
Exactly.
That's all I have to say.
That's not a strong enough reason.
Nick M, what do you think about the predictions?
Well, I think there's probably at least 3 reasons why Joe Biden would lose, and one of them would definitely be his health issues for sure. We didn't hear from Joe Biden for what it seemed like months, and then he came out and said something recently about I'm not gonna hold any rallies, I'm not gonna debate Trump, and that's kind of like head scratching because. One, I get the whole maybe not having rally thing, especially if you can't find a good way to do it or a good location. You need to find some way to get to your voters, and he's not doing that. I haven't seen anything from Biden's campaign team at all on social media, so they're definitely not doing anything there. The other thing is first of all, Trump knows how to play the game. So let's be real.
I can't deny that. Yeah.
I mean, he knows how to play it very well, and that's something Joe Biden has absolutely no idea of. The other thing is people forget, like one of the good things about Trump is he's a very good public speaker. It helped him a lot in 2016.
Yes, it did.
If you watch any of his rallies or speeches and you look at his, facial expressions and his hand movements, and he really knows how to public speak. I think the biggest threat to Joe Biden is that specifically. He's not going to be able to win in a debate against Trump. So that's that's probably why he doesn't want to debate him. But now we're already in July. How much longer are we going to go where, that's going to happen? But I think in the end, I think Trump's going to end up winning.
Nick V, what do you think about the prediction of 2020 election?
My prediction of 2020 is definitely a strong Trump victory, if I'm honest with you. Because
are you a Trump supporter, or do you not like him very much? I'm just curious.
I am a conservative. I do not. It's kind of a double-edged sword. I do and I don't like Donald Trump.
Okay. Why?
The reason why he was put into office is because Donald Trump is a businessman.
Okay.
He knows how to make money. He was elected in 2016 when this country was still in a recession.
Yeah.
It sort of worked. He kind of. I'm not gonna say he got.
Do you think it was because people were ready for some sort of change compared to what Hillary Clinton was putting up?
Possibly.
She wasn't the best candidate. Let's be honest, against him as well.
I think the reason why Hillary Clinton was not a strong enough character is because the whole thing with Bill Clinton and his impeachment and the history behind them and Jeffrey Epstein,
and did not kill himself.
Who did not kill himself, by the way. Donald Trump was put into office because he's a businessman. He knows how to make money. He was put into the position he is in a time where the United States needed more money than ever before.
Yeah.
It sort of worked.
Until coronavirus.
The country was getting back on its feet. Its economy was booming until the coronavirus hit.
And fucked everything
and shoehorned everything. I do believe he is a strong candidate because I do secretly think he knows what he's doing. Even though he's a blatant idiot, he uses Twitter as a weapon against everybody. He plays the game very carefully, and he knows the steps that he needs to take to get everything in the right direction. Regardless of the mudslinging and the asinine comments and this whole thing with coronavirus that really nobody was prepared for, he knows what he's doing. And I secretly do believe that, and I do think he's going to be a strong candidate for 2020 because he is the only strong candidate for 2020, if I'm honest. Sleepy Joe doesn't really have that much of an administration behind him, and nobody even knows who the hell Jo Jorgensen actually is and what she stands for.
Do you guys think that Bernie would have won if he continued his campaign?
I don't know if you guys saw any of the Democratic debates, in the beginning there.
I saw a bit of the first one.
Joe Biden was probably one of the lowest rated fucking debaters out of the entire cast of people. I mean, I think a lot of those people during all these debates, nobody thought Joe Biden would even get this far because he was just rated so low on the scale, and everybody ends up getting wiped out, and then he's on the top.
He shot up. I don't even know how he did that.
There was definitely candidates better than him, and you had a Native American woman there, which was a whole nother stupid thing too.
Oh my God, what was her name?
Elizabeth Warren.
Yes.
Forget that woman.
I know. It's just you have all these candidates that were still bad, but they were definitely better than Joe Biden. And then all of a sudden, like that, here comes Joe Biden.
At the end of the day, you have to put a face with this country. At the end of the day, at the United Nations table, when the greatest leaders in the world sit around a round table, somebody has to be sitting in the seat of the President of the United States. Whether it's Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, the Trump card, or Hillary Clinton, whoever the fuck, they have to be the person who is best for the position that they have there. Yeah. They have to be the face of the country. Joe Biden doesn't really make a good face of the country. He can't even fucking say a sentence correctly.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much evidence that's
and then he had that story about his leg hair or whatever he was saying.
Oh my God. Hillary Clinton has so many scandals behind her. It's not even funny.
Yeah, especially with all the Epstein shit.
Again, nobody knows who Jo Jorgensen is, so I don't know what the hell her policy is. I haven't done any research on her.
But see, that's the thing. Not a lot of people know. Now that, once again, we're not well informed about every single person running for president, which means that's more of an excuse to for Trump or Biden to win, even though I think Trump's going to win anyway.
And then you have one of the richest men in the world, Donald Trump.
True.
Yeah, and
It can't be denied.
yeah, he's probably going to win, and there's no debating that.
What do you think is going to happen when? Let's go into a universe in which Trump wins. What do you think the outrage will be, or do you think it's going to die quickly?
I think
Will the outrage die quickly?
I think it's gonna go exactly with how this has been going since.
I agree. It's going to start up probably something with Russia again, for 3 years. Keep in mind, they wasted 3 years on that and millions of taxpayer dollars. Let's just do that again probably for the next, when he wins. It's kind of sad because you just see the obsession with one side hating one man so much that they can't set aside their differences for 1 minute just to try to come up with some sort of new legislation or something or actually do something. But, yeah, I agree with that.
I think because of that, all his deals, everything that he wants to do is going to get stonewalled completely by the House of Representatives because they just hate his guts. They hate the idea of Donald Trump being in office, and they will do anything possible.
Yeah.
They will probably try to impeach him a second time.
Yeah.
If I'm completely honest.
I probably agree, but will they succeed?
Probably
No.
not.
No,
they
especially
never will.
if the House of Reps is Democrat and the Senate is still Republican.
The Senate has never impeached the president ever. There has been 3 attempts.
Yeah, because usually the Senate sticks with what the president is in, like the political party of the president.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean this could have been a whole different maybe scenario for Trump when they were going for all those the seats that were opening for Congress or who were during the election or whatever, and they thought there was going to be this blue wave. They thought they were going to take control over the House, take control of the Senate, and they lost seats in the Senate. I mean they're far from getting anywhere near taking over the Senate. It's not going to happen. So they need to just give up at some point. I mean, how many years are you going to waste attacking one man? It's just
We've spent 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Donald Trump has a weird thing with his administration where
What do you mean?
He puts people who disagree with him. He does what people call an Abraham Lincoln administration because he did the same thing. Abraham Lincoln, I don't know if you know this, but Abraham Lincoln's vice president was a political party on the other side.
Oh, really?
yeah,
Andrew
yeah.
Johnson.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
wait, wasn't it before then? Like or did that happen after or before that? Where the loser of the pretty much the winner of the election was president, and the runner up became vice president.
I'm
pretty sure
was
that was
a thing.
that was a thing. I know that was a thing, but I don't remember. I don't remember when that stopped. That was a thing though, but I don't know if that was. I think that might have happened actually. I think they stopped that actually before Abraham Lincoln. That might have been the case, but I don't know.
It's possible.
But it was a thing. Just
anyway,
say that.
Donald Trump, for whatever reason, in his administration, put people who disagree with him, and it is actually kind of a smart tactic, but it's kind of not working in
his case.
Administration case.
Well, it's not working in his case because he's such a big figurehead that he has a huge ego, and everyone wants to attack the ego, and so it just doesn't work out. If you have someone who's just down to earth, and very chill and very very reasonable and very rational, like it works.
The thing I kind of agree with that administration strategy, even though it's not working for him, because the idea behind it is if your administration doesn't agree with you, you bounce back and forth ideas, and then you find middle ground, and then middle ground is
like a Teddy Roosevelt type deal. Teddy Roosevelt was very debatable, and like you always were able to get something on both sides where it could work out. He did a really good job.
Isn't he also the guy that got shot mid-speech and then he just kept talking during the speech?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think he was.
There was an assassination attempt on Ted. This is the funniest story I ever heard. It was an assassination attempt on Teddy Roosevelt. He was out in a speech. There was a bunch of people there. He was having a speech.
While he was president?
While he was president. Yeah. He was having a speech. Some gentleman came up, pulled a pistol out, and shot him in the chest, right? I don't remember. There was like a .22 caliber gun or some small baby.
Well, he didn't,
Teddy Roosevelt stood there, right? Covered his hand on his fucking chest and still did the speech, and then he openly mocked the guy that shot him as he was still talking.
I didn't really?
100%. Google it.
Yeah,
Teddy Roosevelt was like the pinnacle of what a man should be. He went out and hunted bears. He had a pet bear. He wrestled at the White House. This man.
We haven't had a man in office for a long time. But like the man, like that guy literally would have great conversations with people on the opposite party, and like they would like have genuine actual discussions and get somewhere. Where nowadays, one Republican can say one thing and the other side will just think that they're just that they're making fun of the other side, or they're accusing them of something, and everyone's just being little babies about it. Everyone's being little fucking bitches, and they need to just shut the hell up and work together. That's what the point of us as a country. We need to be unified. We are the United States. We are not the segregated states.
Exactly.
His speech was also like another hour.
That's
so
kinda
as he
what
was
happens.
like bleeding out, like holding his chest, he was still up there talking for like another hour. It was great.
You get so many people with different ideas that they want to spread. Because I think the internet plays a part, because everybody now has a voice, and let's face it, the internet plays a big part in what's going on right now, and everybody has a voice as what they think that reality should be compared to what reality really is. I would say
I think that's kind of the fault of the internet, because everybody is different on the internet. You have a different opinion on social media when you start. I'm not saying you particular, but just people in general, like start bashing people.
It's
on
interesting because
social
most
media.
people will not say what they say on the internet to your face.
Exactly.
So what happens is, I think that on the internet, your inner thoughts get released on the keyboard, and you're not gonna say those things to someone in person, but you're gonna type it on the screen. And so, I mean, technically, the internet is good for exposing people's true thoughts, I guess. I mean, you could say that. But it's also, maybe we don't know as much about each other as we should or we could, because of the access of the internet that we have. So everybody has their own opinion, and they're saying their own things, right? So now there's a lot of chances for teams, I would say, maybe.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
There's a lot of opportunity.
The internet, even though it's a great, technological advantage in our world, and basically made the internet age, I guess, the information age. That's what we're in.
You can easily get into simple arguments on Facebook about politics now, but you can't. A lot of people, they, as I said in the beginning, they read these clickbait articles and they don't really follow through with what they mean. Yeah. So there is fake news, a lot of it around.
It's also a very bad weapon.
It could be used as a weapon, but there are those people that will use it as a weapon, and they'll use it to their advantage if they can. And we're seeing that now. It's kind of how it is.
Yeah, everyone needs to stay informed. Everyone needs to do research, because they're just blindly following people.
But when you say it's harder to stay informed when, like, every minute of every day, things are being shared on the internet that are used as like new information, like breaking. Like, how often do you go on Facebook and you see something that says breaking news, and then the title? Yeah, so there's always something like. People have the opportunity to be informed at every minute of something new that's going on in the world, and every time you see these articles, it says breaking in like red, and there's like the caption in like all capital letters that says breaking, and you see these news articles, and then a lot of these websites, sure, they may be fake, but they do spark some type of emotion, I would say.
Yeah, but it's just the amount of. It's up to the reader to really do the research and to really find out what's actually happening, because they could see something where it says breaking, Trump did this, but if they did the research, Trump actually did this instead.
Do you think that the internet has had an incredible detrimental effect to the art of what people are perceived to believe?
It's all about the money. That's all it is.
It's all about the money, and it's all about keeping all of us in line, I feel.
Do you think it's working?
Sure. CNN backs the Democrats because the Democrats are feeding them money. Fox.
Now that's the biggest problem.
The Republicans, because of the same reason.
Now, money controls the game, in what I see. That's what I'm saying, is money controls. If you have the most amount of money, you can persuade the most amount of people to believe what you want to believe. So, who can you really trust in that situation?
You can't really trust anybody unless if they say straight up, hey, this is.
How many people will authentically say what they're thinking, what they're feeling?
Not many.
No.
Especially not politicians. because they know that they have to stick to the main course. They have to stick to what they're told to say, and that's all they can do, because that's how they stay on the air. That's how they stay elected. That's the only things that they can do, and that's on both sides. It's both Republican and Democrat. They do the same thing.
Yeah.
Everything, yeah.
And it's up to us to find the shit that they're saying and to throw it out, because they're not, because a lot of the stuff that they're saying is just shit.
Oh yeah.
They're just throwing shit, putting it on the wall, and saying, hey, look, there it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a job that's based on what other people's opinions of you are. That's essentially what it is. When you're a politician, you have to get as many favorable people in your group as possible, you know. And many of the politicians now are going through like thick and thin to get votes, even if it's even like just as crazy as anything nowadays, you know. They'll go through any lengths just to get the votes.
Yeah. I honestly wish we could just take a reset button on all these parties and just fix it, because we're so full divided on both sides.
100%.
And we need to come back to the middle. But I think that's where,
a lot of people are taking sides right now. It's kind of how it is. Everyone has the right to choose their side, but I mean, there is always going to be that conflict now, especially with the internet involved and every party trying to decide what their beliefs are. Everyone's always going to have their say now. I mean, let's face it, there's no going back. Everyone who has internet access has their say now. So I do believe that even in the 2020 election, the internet does play its part in having people decide who should run the country. But even though, let's also face the fact that people, like the president alone, does not decide the fact of the country. The politicians, the House, the Senate, everyone, checks and balances. They all play a part.
A lot of people behind the curtain.
Now we cannot forget that fact. We need to look at the politicians and the senators who are making these laws and who are deciding for us, right? I mean, the president, yes, can veto, but let's look at the people who are creating the laws in the first place.
Exactly. The president just runs the executive branch.
The president is the face of a nation, but the face is not the only part of the body.
Exactly. That's 100%. You got that.
And that's something we all need to look at and fix. We need to fix the body.
It starts with local politics.
Local politics, then
Your council
then the Congress, and then the president. That's just how it's gonna be. We gotta start small and then go up from there.
A lot of people, like I said, always worry about worry about Congress and the president when we're not starting from the bottom. So I mean, I'm not worried about what happens on the national level, because I know where I live, the state I live in. I know. Hopefully people would go out and vote for their local and state politicians. That's what you're going to deal with first. So,
yeah, but this was honestly a great conversation, guys. Mm-hmm. We did. I think this is like one of the best, at least more emotional type things that we've gone through, because we were really about this, and I hope that everyone has enjoyed listening in on this great conversation. I hope that people got something out of it.
Yeah.
Because I believe that, we are so divided, but we need to unify. We really need to come together, and we need to talk to each other and discuss like these types of topics. Because a lot of people politics are very touchy, and I feel like being able to talk about it and like be open about
but like
our
logical
beliefs.
Discussion as well.
It's a rational, logical discussion. Like being able to talk about it rationally and stuff. It really will help understand other people and really help build upon something that we already have. And this nation's great. Like on the foundation, this nation's great. But right now we're struggling. We need to come back.
We are dividing. We're trying to be divided, and we're taking different sides. But we have to realize that we're all together. No matter what. Like in the end of things.
Yeah. We're all the same.
We all live in the same place, and we all have the same goals. We all want to survive, right? That's kind of the basis of everything.
The basis of life is to not die. So that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're just trying to live. We need to be together.
Yeah.
Nation divided cannot stand.
Yes, exactly. So
on that note, we're gonna end it, and I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Thank you, Nix, for coming.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure to have you.
I've
We
never,
really
never been on a
appreciate
podcast before, so I definitely enjoyed it. It
Yeah,
was a
we
good
really
experience. for
appreciate
sure.
having you on. Thanks, Nick V, for coming on.
Yeah, as a side note, I wanted to add, it was a shame to hear that Jeffrey Epstein's ex-girlfriend's apparent suicide in the upcoming weeks.
Oh yeah, I know. I heard. I've been hearing about
Ironic.
that. We can definitely talk about that in another podcast.
Yeah, we'll get
Absolutely,
there.
absolutely.
But guys, subscribe, stay tuned, and we'll come out with more stuff.
Yes. Thank you for joining. Have a good one.